Chris Tuttle, evidence-based IFBB coach of champions like Jordan Hutchinson, winning him the Tampa and the Texas Pro, host of IFBB AMA, registered dietitian, Emerson Nutrition, retired IFBB Pro, and smart guy.
Why not be as transparent as you can and talk about what you're doing and even chems and gear? Like, I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. The less likely people are going to follow suit with the wrong advice. Once you get to a certain injury level, you can never grow on less. Not true. My heaviest body weight of 267 was reached on less gear than I was running the 2 previous years. My sleep was immaculate. My appetite was immaculate. My training was unbelievable. I was recovering, tightening the obliques to bring it in. Jordan's waist comes all the way in more. We're going to have a crazier V taper. Dude, the last ab and thigh shot he sent me today, I was like, Jesus. And he's still eating a good amount of food.
Is there anything you guys did for the back? His back's looking amazing.
We're not doing barbell rows and deadlifts and all this stuff, things that disrupt so much fatigue. For somebody who has trouble connecting with your back, those are definitely movements you don't want to do. I don't use too much DEC or NPP anymore either. I used to. If I do, it's a short stint of NPP. I don't have any of my clients take probiotic supplements. I think they're a complete waste of money. It's far more effective to have food that's probiotic rich than it is supplements. And the reason is a lot of the probiotic supplement mega dose 1 or 2 different strengths. You create more of an imbalance within the gut. Now I go, dude, we can't do our normal cycle 8 weeks post show. We're going to have to wait. I'm going to bring you down to like a very low TRT dose, like 150 milligrams per week, like low. We will titrate the test up if your body starts to lose fullness size, or if it starts to soften up or lose training performance. I know hunger is going to be high, but if training's progressively getting better, you're able to recover, I'm going to give you just enough food for that. Let's be honest. The other thing is, which is dangerous, is when you're gaining 30 pounds in 6 weeks, you're...
Is there any drugs that you 100% avoid?
My podcast, same thing, cell phones, or even when they're driving and they're on the cell phone.
Oh, dude, that's fantastic.
It's like, now it's like fucking hell.
How you been, man? How's everything going with the Olympia?
Very good. Very good. Everything's going great. No complaints, just trucking along, taking one day at a time.
Yeah, I bet. I was just talking to my coach too, Patrick, because I was like, hope you're doing well, coach. I'm assuming that you are stressed out of your fucking mind right now because, you were about to fly to Olympia and you got 2 weeks and everybody's fucking prepping and got shows back to back here now. And he's just like, I'm probably going to have a hard time responding on the plane and all these things. I'm like, well, I don't really doubt that. I feel like you're going to have a hard time being able to be on your phone at any point in time, considering that you've got how many athletes.
I don't get stressed. I kind of just operate as I go along. But like nothing's worse when you get on the airplane, you have a 6-hour flight and the Wi-Fi doesn't work. It's like now I'm wasting 6 hours. And then once you get there, then it's like, coach, you get my email? Coach, you get my email? Coach, you get my email? I'm like, dude, fucking hell.
That's the worst fucking feeling, man. It's so sad. I can't have any patience. I just can't.
Wow. It's horrible.
Like, yeah. Crazy that we live in a world where I can't live 1 minute without Wi-Fi. It's fucking sad.
Well, especially where we live,
Yeah. Appreciate you for coming on the pod, by the way. Yeah. It's been to be honest, for me, it's been a long time coming because I've seen your content for so long and I've been watching, your pods on the IFBB AMA with Milos and everything. So it's cool to finally get to talk to you in person.
Yeah, man. This is gonna be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Congrats
on what was that?
I said I like this stuff. I like talking nutrition, coaching, psychology, training. I like all of it.
Yeah. I really appreciate the fact that you're just straight up about everything, bro. And super transparent about everything too, which is, I think, one of the coolest things because you just cover every single area, any place where people end up having probably like questions, whether it's even like almost subconsciously in their mind, you end up bringing it up anyways, which is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I always get confused when people do not, like, they don't explain things fully or they kind of beat around the bush. It's like, why not be as transparent as you can and talk about what you're doing and even chems and gear? Like, I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me because it's like more like the more you're out there and you're able to explain things so people can understand them, the less likely people are going to follow suit with the wrong advice, or they might open the idea and see things differently and then take a different approach. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I always wonder that too. And there's something that's fucking hard for me to talk about because, like, obviously I don't want to put anyone on the spot. I don't want to put myself even on the spot, to be honest. And I don't even know how true it is, but I have heard, like I had an athlete say before, like a judge, like an Olympian judge had told them that they don't really like to hear athletes talk too in depth about gear, for example, which I guess would make sense, but I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, especially considering now that like there's such an open dialogue of gear talk. I mean, listen, I started bodybuilding in 2004. My first show was 2005. I mean, gear was hush hush then. Like,
Yeah.
nobody talked about it and discussed anything. Like, and everything was quiet, and it was not socially acceptable by any means. You know what I mean? Like, when I say by any means, I mean you go to the gym, you train every day at your gym for a year, you wear a sweatshirt, you're covered up, you talk to people, normal people, you know, general gym goers, weekend warriors, serious athletes, and all of a sudden one day you take your shirt off and you're shredded, and then half the people won't talk to you anymore. They don't even want to be associated with you because you use gear.
Holy shit.
In your appearance. I remember doing that all the time. All of a sudden I take my shirt off 2 weeks out, and people I normally talk to, half of them wouldn't talk to me anymore. They're like, oh, I didn't know like that. But now it's just like people walk up in the gym. What's your cycle? What are you running? What are you doing this? It's just,
right.
It's just common knowledge. It's almost like anybody, what sucks now is like anybody that's remotely muscular now is using gear.
I know, it's crazy, bro.
Or even worse, you're using trend. You're using trend. Trend sucks. I fucking hate trend. And everybody's just like, you gotta use trend. You gotta use trend. You gotta use trend.
Right.
Oh my God.
There's without a doubt, there's still without a doubt, there's people that just are lying about it. But still, though, the one thing that I hate the most about what's happened in the industry and like these the natty or nots and everything is like it's really destroying the hope of a lot of natural people. Like you're like telling them, oh, you'll never get there. So, you know, it's just like, don't even get your hopes up. What's the point of doing that, man? The point of having hope in the future for something greater is that you work towards it regardless of the outcome. It's process oriented. And it's like, you're just destroying their drive, man.
Yeah. And, you know, and all of that, you're going to start to walk people into the chem route. You know what I'm saying? You keep telling everybody you're not going to progress, not going to do this. They're going to be like, oh, I guess they're right. Maybe I will just start using SARMs or using whatever they're going to use to build muscle. And like what I always say to people, and I'm very honest with them, I go, listen, in bodybuilding, and I used analogy before, bodybuilding and genetics is like cars. Some people are born a Ferrari. Some people are born a Volkswagen Beetle. And, and unfortunately, no matter what you do to the Volkswagen Beetle, it's never going to be a Ferrari. But you could take a Ferrari and do very little to it, and it's awesome. And you can do everything you want to a Volkswagen Beetle, and it's never going to be great. And you do too much to that Volkswagen Beetle, the life of that transmission is probably going to not be very long, and they're going to die, right? So like I keep trying to tell people to understand that, even natural or not, like Chris, I got potential. It's like looking at physique. I'm like, honestly, like, I mean, you can work to be better version of yourself. But when someone comes to me and they do have poor genetics, they don't have bodybuilding genetics, like you're never going to be the best. Just so you know, doesn't mean you strive to be a better version of yourself, but you have to keep your expectations realistic. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and some people just don't understand that. And like, even some of my clients I've had for a long time will see some of my other clients. They're big, bro, like, wow, like, what do you got that guy running? I'm like, dude, he's running less than you are. And he's like, really? And I try to explain to them, man, it's just like, dude, nobody will say anything about any top athlete performing like LeBron James. It's genetics, it's hard work, right? It's like there's going to be people that might work harder than LeBron James, but will never be LeBron James. And that's okay. It's as long as you're striving to be a better version of yourself, and you always should be that way. But like expectations need to be realistic. And I don't want people like sitting there trying to drug themselves into being Chris Bumstead. You know what I mean?
Yep. Right. Plus, I think in the long run, it tends to hurt them anyways.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not just the obvious, but like you almost retract from the progress by just blasting like year round.
100%. And they ruin their physique. I've seen so many people ruin their physique through drugs. And it's like, dude, if you just took your time, you learn more about training, how to train properly, and were more patient, you would build a bigger physique. Now you just build the big stomach. And now your proportions are whacked because now your stomach's like a pillow, you know?
That's the thing that I felt like at first I was a little bit unsure when Patrick and I were going into this last show this last weekend, because I was on less gear than I was total with Kyle the previous year. But now that the show is over and I talked to Patrick about some feedback and stuff that happened, it made me feel a lot better, because basically I got a little bit of feedback from a couple of people in the audience saying that I look like I was running the least compared to the people on stage, especially the top 5, which is understandable. You know, there's like this level of hardness and like veins and vascularity that you can see on them. And it's true. Like there's things that, like, for example, we just didn't put in Winstrol at all, which I've never done for a prep. I've always had Winstrol. So I was kind of shocked. But, you know, I'm just like, you know, I let him know the info and he's like, yeah, that's 100% true, because you're running about like half of an Olympian athlete stack right now. But this is our first show. Slow and steady wins the race. We progress slowly over time. And that's what we're going to, you know, blah, 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 which is cool because, you know, having like 18 pounds below the weight cap, it's nice to know that there's places to escalate, you know, ways to progress. So it's a positive feeling.
Yeah. Nothing's worse when someone is at the position where they're at the end of the weight cap. They're maxed out in chems and they're not doing well. And it's like, hey, what do we need to do? We're getting close to the cap of not being able to do anything versus just changing a class and trying to do something different. Because there's only, you know, some of these guys at the top professional level, like you're at the cream of the crop. Like it's the best of the best. So you're going to have people who have very small joints, very round muscle bellies that just have proportions that are wild. And like, how are you going to compete with that? Who someone's like 5'6" and they're at their weight cap and they look like they're 30 pounds heavier. You know what I mean? Like, and then you get somebody else who's, you know, a little heavier, a little thicker person, and they're already at the weight cap and they don't look nearly as big. That's the part where you're like, that's a tough place to be in.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It might be a little bit hard to conjure up without like some, I don't know, thinking about specific instances, but if regarding guys that have like really excellent genetics, for example, that you've seen have to like, you know, take minimum dosages or require like a minimum amount of time or work to progress their physique versus people that are that like Volkswagen versus the Ferrari. Do you happen to have any like specific examples that you remember between whether it's clients or other athletes that you know where you've seen like the Ferrari that needs hardly anything and then the Volkswagen guy who, like, you know, they're working their ass off, but they're just not making the progress that they wish they could because of their genetics? You don't have to say any names or anything.
Oh yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, like even Jordan, like the amount of gear Jordan was using all through this entire time was way lower than probably 95% of open bodybuilders. And I remember getting confronted one day at Texas Pro last year when he got second. And I know this dude and he knows me and he comes over, he's like, bro, he looks fucking sick. He's made some crazy ground last year. How much shit you got that guy running? And I'm like, I actually don't. And he's like, I don't believe you. And I'm like, okay, you're asking me. I didn't plan on this. So I'm going to pull up my phone. All right. I'm going to open my phone. You're watching. I'm going to click my email. I put in Jordan's name. I clicked it. I opened it. And I showed him the last cycle and he looks at it and he's like, so disappointed. And he's like, that's really not that much. I know, because Jordan comes off the stage at Texas Pro the first year he did Texas Pro. So 2 years ago. And this, when he got fifth in his pro debut, he comes over to me and he goes, Chris, I've been talking to all these guys backstage and they're taking like 750 mgs of tren a week, 600 mgs of tren a week, like 300 mgs of Masteron. He goes, we're way under that. Do you think we're shortchanging ourselves? And I simply said, how much weight did you gain from your pro day, from when you turned pro till now? And he's like, 26 pounds. I'm like, exactly.
It's crazy. It's crazy, bro.
Yeah, like exactly my point. And he goes, yeah, I understand. I'm like, dude, we're just going to milk this as much as we can and then have to bump it up when we need to. That's it.
Right.
But I mean, I still have some guys that, I mean, one of my buddies who just won North Americans, the light heavyweight won overall, first light heavyweight to win overall at pro qualifier since like, I think Jason Arnson in the 1990s. And he's been running the same androgen level for years. And it just keeps getting better and better. It's like, I don't believe in just needing to linearly increase androgen load. I just don't believe it. If I see a change and it's working, I'm not going to increase it where people will be like, well, if I increase it more, it's just going to work faster. That's not always the case. It's just not, because you're going to get to a point with androgen load where you're going to affect your digestion. You're going to affect your sleep. And when you affect your sleep and digestion, now you start to regress and go backwards. Just like with Trenbolone, right? It's like, it's why I hate Tren is how many times does it affect someone's sleep and digestion? Well, great. Now we're going backwards, right?
Yeah.
I want them to feel awesome. I want them to sleep perfectly all through preparation. I don't want them to have poor sleep. I don't want people to say, I hear these dumb things. They'll say, well, poor sleep is normal in prep. You just got to tough it out. It's the dumbest statement I've ever heard. So it's like you protect your sleep, their body just progresses faster and faster and faster. Then you're able to use less fat burning chems. You're able to manage fatigue better. You're able to keep food in there higher. So you protect those normal things in the body. You can. That's where like the dosages kind of can be adjusted per person, right? They're based on their ability to tolerate it. And of course, the effect that you're going to see.
Right. That was I think that's probably one of the most special things that I discussed with Jordan. And I've also talked about this with Terrence as well. And it's the idea that like both of these guys had to come off of everything, including training, for a surgery, right? Like Jordan's was gyno, Terrence's was his hair transplant. And afterwards, they both fucking exploded.
Yeah.
Man. Like Terrence had trouble exceeding 212 pounds, I believe, prior to his surgery. But then he took how many weeks off? I don't remember how much of everything, PDs, training, just bodybuilding in general. Came back, hit it hard. The training stimulus was there. I'm sure that the PEDs, I don't know. I don't even know what kind of vocab to use here. Some people like to use like refreshing of your receptors or something. But just the tolerance obviously is lower than it was before. His response was great. Everything was just on point. And I feel like you made a comment, and I don't remember which pod it was, but it was really cool because you were really specific. You said if a guy ran 1,500 mgs of test, 800 deca, cruising 500, he won't be hardly responding well to anything. So you'd have to go back. You'd have to have him back down to 150 for 12 weeks, then titrate him back up to something like 600 tests, 400 primo, 150 NPP starting dose, for example. And I think a lot of people have kind of just discounted or at least thrown away this idea of just coming off and running a cruise for a while. And they just think, health phase based off my blood work, which I think is still super important, right? But it just, I just find it interesting that these guys had responded so well after they took so much time off.
Yeah, let's unpack that. That's actually really good. That's really good to talk about. So, you have this theory where, once you get to a certain androgen level, you can never grow on less. Not true. My heaviest body weight of 267 was reached on less gear than I was running the 2 previous years.
Mm-hmm.
But significantly, I was running 750 test, 400 primo, and 300 NPP, and 4 hours of growth because I could never take more than that because my hands would I have carpal tunnel already genetically. I couldn't even fucking hold an egg in my hand for 4 IUs. And my sleep was immaculate. My appetite was immaculate. My training was but unbelievable. I was recovering, low stress life, ran myself very consistently Monday through Sunday. It was just, everything was, the stars aligned. So that whole androgen myth of like you needing more and more and more, once you go a certain high, you're never going to go on less. That's not true. So in Jordan's situation, I told him because he had a lot of travel, which is obviously not ideal for growth at all. And he had surgery, and surgery was like months away after Texas Pro last year. I go, listen, man, the approach we're going to take, and I always let my clients know the approach. I'm always like, dude, this is the approach we're going to take so you understand what to expect. I go, dude, we can't do, our normal cycle 8 weeks post-show, which I'm going to talk to you about post rebound in a second. I go, we're going to have to wait. And how we're going to handle this is this. I'm going to bring you down to like a very low TRT dose, like 150 milligrams per week, like low, okay? I want you to be low within normal range. And obviously, we will titrate the test up if your body starts to lose fullness size or if it starts to soften up or lose training performance. So I said, the unfortunate thing is I have to keep you lean. You have to stay lean. I don't let my guys get fat in that post-show rebound. I just don't. You can't. You ruin the whole year. So I'm just going to feed you enough to keep training performance at a good spot. Okay. So you let me, I know hunger is going to be high, but if training's progressively getting better, you're able to recover, I'm going to give you just enough food for that. So we did that.
How much food do you normally think that is?
Dude,
I'm sure it varies, but
I could pull it up. But for me, I usually will immediately go to extremely high calories the first week post show because I don't want them to binge eat in peanut butter and shit food. Okay.
Okay.
That's usually what's going to get someone fat.
Gotcha.
Question, right? If I can prevent that. So I might go right to like 420 grams of white rice per meal and like all this food. So they have a better ability to withstand pizza and junk food, right? And then at the end of the week, they're like, dude, I'm only up 4 pounds, but I'm so full. I'm like, cool, pull back a little bit, right? to get over that psychological hump. That way they feel full. But most of the time people are obsessed with, they want to feel full. You know what I mean? Post-show. You just want to feel satisfied.
Yep.
So I think around 8 weeks, he actually held striated glutes for like, I think 8 weeks post-show. And his training was getting better and better and better. He's getting fuller, getting better, just recovery. Then he got to a weight cap where he just held the weight for a while. And then he started to get a little softer. So then I bumped his test to 300 mgs a week. And then he ended up being on 300 mgs or less for about 4 months. And we just, same thing. Food was just enough to keep his training performance where it was. And then when he started and were able to increase food, his body put on 12 pounds of stage weight in 5 months.
Jesus.
So it's like usually people do that over like 9 months, you know, and he just kept growing and growing and growing and growing. And I'm like, dude, this is weird, but like, am I adding anything? Am I going to change the food? And then what's even weirder is when we decided last minute to go into prep, he's like, dude, I really want to do the show. Let's compete. And I'm like, usually we do 20 weeks, bro. And we only have 16. So like, I'm going to be a little aggressive right after rip. Okay. He's like, okay. So I dropped his calories way back and, you know, would feed him. He checked in every single day, checked in every day. And I would feed him when he needed to be fed, pull back when he needed to be pulled back and forth. And then around like 11 weeks out, he was just kind of staying the same weight and just getting harder and leaner and harder and leaner. Didn't change the drugs at all. Test and EQ. That was it. And then I'm like, bro, this is getting weird. It's getting real weird. Like normally, like bringing in contest prep stuff. And I go, I think we should just leave it alone. Like, let's just leave it alone. It's working, right? We'll put in the contest prep stuff soon, but we usually start that earlier, but let's just give it a week or two. So around 8 weeks, we started bringing contest prep stuff. And then it just got even better and better. Like Jordan has gotten really good at training his body. And that's one that I think people don't get. They just fucking destroy their body in the gym, think it's hardcore, think it's cool, all these drops. And they have no idea what they're doing. And they're not managing the recovery. Jordan's excellent at giving the right stimulus with matching the right recovery. And then sleep is better, digestion is better, your body's keeping up with it, androgen's doing its thing versus just pounding the shit out of your body, increasing androgens and hoping see what sticks to the wall, you know?
Yeah.
So that was his response. But I do that with all my guys. And real quick about post-show rebound, I don't have anybody do post-show rebound where they push anabolics the immediate 8 weeks post-show. I think it's the wrong move. I like to take those 8 weeks and bring it down to real low TRT. Don't let them get fat. So at the end of the 8 weeks, their blood work is good. They're still lean. They've been on TRT for 8 weeks and their relationship with food is fixed. Their body feels rested. Their sleep is normalized. And now they have a whole 18-week rebound. So now you're starting fresh. We're like, oh, I can push for 18 weeks because health parameters are good. My body's been on TRT. I have no aches and pains. Everything's fresh. I haven't been pushing super hard in the gym. Now you have an 18-week productive season. And I had 6 guys last year. That I've been working with for years, put on 10 plus pounds of stage weight doing the exact same thing.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, exact same thing. And I
that
feel like
so sexy.
That seems to be, but nobody wants to do that. Nobody's like, no, I want to get back in the gym, start training really hard, and I'm gonna run D-ball post show, and then they just they're so into the immediate gratification that they ruin the overall. They don't see the overall picture, you know?
Yeah, man. We're all the most hyped to fucking get back after the show. When after you start eating all that food and stuff, and you start filling out, you're like, God damn, we gotta fucking train hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard not to, bro.
It's not the time to. It's really not.
Yeah. It's fucking tough. Psychologically tough for sure.
Back to saying the same thing about like cruise, where people like cruising 500. Like I've had clients refuse to want to go below like 400. They call it sports TRT. And then they don't want to go below because I don't want to shrink, dude. I don't want to shrink. Okay, if you want to grow, like you got to let your body like come down. It's kind of like if you want caffeine to work, I know they're different substances, but if you want caffeine to work, for example, you can't be like, I'm going to go from 6 cups to 4 cups back to 6 cups. It's more like go to 6 cups and go all the way into a half a cup. And then maybe for 2 weeks, do no cups.
Yep.
And once you get back to 1 cup again, you're like, whoa, you know what I mean? Then you can titrate up and let it again, you know?
Whether it's longer or shorter cycles, as long as it's a cycle and you're going up and down rather than just continuously going up. Yeah. For sure. That's where the effectiveness is.
Yeah.
When you said he gained about 12 pounds in 5 months, was that on the 350 test or was that on a new cycle?
Oh, no. That was like, I'm talking like when we actually put on lean tissue, it was like in that period of time because we were hovering around a very low body weight for him. I don't remember the time. The low body weight may have been, I think it may have been 260, 255, 260 on TRT for 4 months with lean. He still had a little striated glutes even at the end of the 4 months.
It's funny, 260 is low. Huh.
Yeah. And then once we started, it was just, he just kept gaining weight, looking the same, gaining weight, looking the same. I think we got up to 293. And then I was like, dude, like this is the leanest 293 I've ever seen you be. But this is wild. And then that's when we started to come back down. But no. You know, some people can make some gains to some degree, but somebody that size is not going to make substantial gains on TRT. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Get a middleweight, they could probably make some gains on even on TRT because you're refining their training, you're managing recovery with their training. But like a big guy like that still needs more androgens to put on new tissue.
Right. Yep. I'd assume because of just like the more tissue, the more receptors, the more required.
Yeah, you need more of the whole.
Normally,
there's definitely, there's 100% fact to that. Like there's going to be a level of androgens required to hold that tissue. And the only reason why Jordan was able to hold that tissue coming out of a show is because your body does have a rebound effect. It does. You go low food, and then all of a sudden you're like on TRT, like a real TRT, and eat food. You're going to feel like you're on good amount of gear for quite a while. And then your body starts to go back to its normal homeostasis. Then you feel like you're not on any gear.
But then that's a good place for you to put in the gear.
Correct.
And start that. Right.
Correct. 100%.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you feel like it's a little, I mean, so you don't feel like there's like some kind of like multiplication effect with the like insulin sensitivity of like that food going in plus a higher amount of gear post show?
Listen, the reason I think it's a bad idea is for these reasons. One, you just shit on your body with chems. And obviously we all know that chems during contest prep are a hell of a lot more toxic than off season. We know that. Mm-hmm. And we also know that the duration of our rebound post show can't be very long because of that fact, even if we do decide to do that. So it's like, realistically, how much tissue are you really going to put on in 6 to 8 weeks? Like, let's be honest, right? Mm-hmm. Most people are just going to gain water. And the other thing is, which is dangerous, as people don't understand, because they probably don't even check it, is when you're gaining 30 pounds in 6 weeks, your blood pressure is going high. It is. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I know everybody talks about bodybuilders are dying. I can't believe it. I fucking can, because I know what people do, right? Like, it's not a shock to me. It's like all these people doing these things of instant gratification, want to jump the guns. They want to be 50 pounds heavier yesterday. Well, that's going to have a consequence. Now, that being said, though, there's situations where I've had clients where they got into shape really easily and we didn't even use very much. Mm-hmm. And I was totally okay with them going another 8 weeks post-show. I was totally okay with that. But I still don't like it because the amount of water retention you do get from adding more androgens or keeping androgens in with eating a bunch of food and rebounding, you just a tick. You just explode. Your muscles are full and people always think like, look how big I am. It's just your body's super physiologically responding and soaking up all that water and sodium and you're abnormally puffed out. But that's not muscle. It's short-lived. It's a major change in fluid balance to your body gets back to homeostasis again. So like, I still don't think it's the most optimal route to take in the long term. I just don't, you know? And listen, most people are really burning the candle at both ends to get into shape. Most of them are. So you know how it is going out of a show. Like, you don't feel 100% 7 days after a show. You're not like, dude, I feel off-season ready. So I'd rather them be off-season ready physically and mentally in their sleep and everything. So when they can push, they have more accurate everything. I'd rather push them for 18 weeks than a short 6 and have all these ramifications of water retention. You can't sleep, put on 30 pounds. I mean, how many times a year people like put on so much weight post-show and they're like, bro, my ankles are swollen. I'm falling asleep all day at work. Like, that's just not optimal time for most people. It makes sense. I understand why people do it. It makes sense. But like, I don't think it's the best route.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to say this transparently because, I mean, that's what I fucking make this podcast for. So regardless of whether people want to judge it or not, this is my experience and I feel like it'd be helpful to at least share. But I have done the health phase post-show. I've taken breaks post-show, and I decided last year I'm like, I was so motivated to fucking make gains. I've heard of the rebound versus the reverse diet versus like the health phase. I want to try the rebound this time. So I came to Patrick and I'm like, I want to try to rebound off this show. I want to go hard. I want to see how many gains I can make. Now that I know there's like a ton of variables here, because like one of the variables, for example, we're going into this last show with less gear. So I'm coming in at a lower weight than I was projected to be, right? My stage weight this year is about the same as my stage weight last year, which psychologically to me is not a good thing. But people are telling me you made crazy gains in majority of it is in your legs. Like we see these gains. So there are some gains there. If I trust them, then I guess there's some gains there. But looking at the amount of gains I made from the year that I did the health phase and then slowly progressing back up versus last year at pretty similar dosages. Last year I was at about 600 tests, 500 primo. The year before was 500 tests, 400 primo. I don't really feel like I made nearly as much doing the rebound as I thought I would. Like I don't think there was any advantage to taking advantage of that rebound. And instead, I really just had no health phase, honestly. And I think taking that time off, one, just to like improve the blood work even more, even though it was in pretty good parameters because I do a lot of antioxidants, glutathione, and stay on top of everything else, including nutrition and cardio. But I think just taking that time off, I feel like people think they're retracting. I feel like people think they're backtracking because they're not making, they're not running things during that time. They're not maybe training as hard or eating as much during that time. But I don't think that happens at all, man. Like I think all the same progress at least is made in the time that you are back on if you do that, take that break.
Yeah, no, I agree. And listen, like you know how it is with our sport, it's very anecdotal, right? Like I'm sure there's people that made plenty of ground with crazy ground. And like, I will tell you one rebound story myself that for me personally, but like, I think overall it's not the best move. I'm not saying it's not possible to gain muscle post show. I just don't think it's the best move, especially for your health. And obviously there's very many dependent on a lot of variables, as we discussed, how hard you had to make to get in shape, what engines were used, how long were engines for, how old you are, how big you are. So I think those are very important to consider if you're make that decision. But it's funny you say that, where like you can make gains but be the same weight. Your body can change the way it looks and be similar weight. It can, because muscles, think about this. I would make this a good example. You ever see a crazy experienced cyclist? They're like 140 pounds, but their legs look like they're made of steel. Like they're ripped. And like small human beings, but what that muscle looks like, it's grainy, hard, and dense. But it's not like they're gaining weight. So it's like, muscles can change in appearance. You can look and appear different. Your symmetry can change and be very close to the same weight. People get very hell-bent on objective forms of measurement, right? I'm getting stronger. I'm getting bigger. I'm gaining weight. I'm getting bigger. And all of a sudden they die down. They're like, I look the same, right?
Yeah.
As you know, strength is not always an indicator of hypertrophy, because there's such thing as mechanical strength, where you're just becoming more efficient within the movement, and that's how you're getting stronger. But those are all things I think you'll need to consider. And then the annoying thing about what you just said about where people are like, if I'm not being productive, I'm not going to make gains. You can't be productive all the time. You can't. Just like in professional sports, they follow macro and mesocycles. They do their deloads. There's a period of time at the end of the season where they're instructed not to do any baseball at all. If they're a professional baseball player, they go do 2 weeks of cross training, go do other sports. So they get their body acclimated to other movement patterns. Those are all important things. You can't be full throttle all the time. Doesn't work. It's kind of like, I agree with that. It's the same philosophy of like, dude, there's a slippery hill and you're driving up a car. It's like, there's times to hit the accelerator and there's times to let off the accelerator to get the most traction you can. You can't just redline it and expect to get the most traction you can, It's like Dr. Scott Scher said on our podcast that people really undervalue the importance of the parasympathetic state. Just how important it is that you have to actually focus on getting in that state so that you can recover properly. Yeah. Fire shirt, by the way, bro. Dude, that's big on my contest prep guys. I always tell my guys, dude, get your shit done in the first 3 quarters of the day. In the last quarter of the day, settle down. Put on Step Brothers. What, like, play a video game.
Step Brothers.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, play a video game, like, spend time with your family, like, do something around the house that's not bodybuilding related. Just get all your shit done and get into that parasympathetic nervous system side so you can sleep. You can't be full throttle sympathetic system all the time. Eventually, your body's just not going to respond as well. It's not going to burn fat as well. Your recovery is going to hinder. But if you're able to do that, you can just progress. And that's one thing I'm on Jordan about all the time is sleep. And he sleeps like a baby. But we have a lot of things set up to make sure that happens. You know what I mean?
Right. Real quick, guys. So while I was looking at the YouTube analytics, I actually saw that 85% of you guys that watch this channel are not subscribed. And I want to ask very little of you guys. But if you enjoy this podcast, if you find value in it, then please do me this one favor and subscribe to the channel, because doing so helps me get bigger and greater guests like the guests you are listening to today. Also, this channel is not sponsored, which means only the companies that I work with, which are Young LA and Huge Supplements, are the companies that can help fund this channel by you guys using the code NILE. So code NILE gives you a discount of 15% off of Young LA, and code NILE also gives you a discount of 10% off of Huge Supplements. And if you decide to purchase anything from any of these companies, it will help immensely for me by using my code. And this way, I can travel to other guests and also upgrade in equipment to make this podcast bigger and better for you guys. I've been able to get on top of my sleep after the last few years, because I'm sure people have already heard me obsess about trying to figure out how to like perfect sleep and everything. But that's my fucking biggest problem, man. Psychologically, it's just so hard for me to get myself to like just relax at the end of the day. Like, because, my just like from growing up in this fucking goddamn typical Asian household, all I think about is my mom telling me that I'm fucking lazy if I'm not doing something. So it's tough to get out of. But
it's tough when you're an ambitious person, because I'm the same way, bro. Like, I need to be productive all the time, but I've convinced myself that like, I got to get to bed and sleep so I can get up at 5 and start cranking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I get up really early every day. So like, that's my motivation is like, I need rest so I can fucking rip it tomorrow morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the exact same thing that keeps me in check too. You mentioned earlier in a conversation about drop sets and about how Jordan has been really on top of his training. Like, he doesn't do any extra drop sets. He like manages his fatigue and his rest very well. I was wondering where do you find a place for these? Because one of Patrick Tor's aspects of his training, which he calls SST, psychoplasmic stimulation training, is that at the end of the second at the end of the second set of each exercise, you're implementing one form of this SST, which is some kind of intensifier. So normally the one that I pick tends to be a little bit more of the hardest one, but it's the rest pause set, where you rest for 20 seconds, go to failure, rest for 20 seconds, go to failure, rest for 20 seconds, go to about failure, until you have one rep left. Or there's ones where it's like you just do a single drop set of 33, you drop 33% of the weight, and then you slow the eccentric down to about like 4 seconds, for example. But like places for like these drop sets, especially in the off season, where do you find these? How do you feel about these drop sets? Do you find them effective?
I know Jordan does some drop sets, but Jordan does his own training, but I've steered his training over the years. Like, at one point in time, he started to get more injured. And I go, guy, whatever you're doing is not working. You got to cut the shit. Like,
gotcha.
In other words, like, he had a adductor issue and then he had a knee issue. I'm like, dude, how do you train? I look at his video. I'm like, bro, you gotta take those 8 plates and make those 8 plates for like 15 plates. Okay.
Yeah.
Move slower, make it more harder. Stop at the bottom, pause, make lighter weight harder on the muscle, because your soft tissue and your muscle imbalances are just gonna ruin you. You're gonna fall apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if I feel like he's not recovering, I'm like, hey man, you're gonna need to back off. So he's learned that, and he's kind of toned it himself. And drop sets are in part of his program to some degree, but they're not blindly being like, we're doing a drop set after every exercise of the last set. That's just foolish. My opinion is just they don't understand training, because as you know, if you kind of exert yourself or stimulate the muscle too much in the first exercise, that greatly affects the performance of that muscle for the next exercise.
Yep.
Right. So I'm okay with people doing drop sets on something like a chest fly, a lateral raise, leg curl, calf raise, leg extension, I'm not okay with somebody doing like a triple drop set on a hack squat.
That's just crazy.
You're going to drive too much fatigue, and it's just not required. So like, in my opinion, I rather people do a back off set with full rest than sit there and make a muscle go to failure repetitively over and over again. Because now that I understand recovery, I understand systemic fatigue, like your CNS system, and I see people who train to failure a lot, and I don't see them making extraordinary gains. We'll come to a point where I might implement it for a few weeks to see how the person responds and how they're recovering. Sure. But like I usually tell people, I'm usually focusing on people how to move weight in a way to target the muscle you're trying to target. Like if you're doing incline dumbbell press and you're not feeling your chest fibers with every repetition, you're not actually feeling them contract. That's a problem, right? Yeah. So let's get there first. And then let's learn to push that muscle to near failure while maintaining the tension here. Once you're there, then we can implement a back off set where we're able to really drive those upper chest fibers. Because I don't want people compensating. You know, like all of a sudden people start arching their back in an incline press. And they're like, I got 120s for 10. And it's like, no, you didn't. You got 5. And then it turned into a flat press. So look, I'm more on that route. I know people have different ways of doing it. I don't think for me, I don't agree with it. I just don't. Like at the end of the workout, sure, to finish something off. But like if somebody, his legs are super sore every week and they're big and they're making ground, I'm never going to have them do a drop set on legs, right? If there's a shoulder rear delt and a medial delt that just seems not to respond and their shoulders are never sore and the recoveries are fine, I might implement some drop sets and some other intensifiers. But it's very individualized. It's not like blindly being like, we're going to do a drop set on every exercise of the last set, or we're going to do it on every second or third exercise of every body part. It's very individualized to that. Sense?
No, it totally makes sense. Glad you said that because I feel like a lot of us have been in that place too, where we will fucking train our asses off and hit those drop sets, and then we fucking end up having imbalances. We have tightnesses in places that just won't let go. End up having to get way too much extra body work just to like manage that.
You said it 100%. That's the consequence of it.
I wanted to experiment with that myself. So, you know, during that rebound phase, I just went so fucking hard afterwards with volume and everything that my entire left side of my body and the entire upper body just locked the fuck up where I had pain just going to bed. Like I couldn't sleep properly because the left side of my back was just too tight and in pain. And, then I started talking to like my active release therapist, chiropractors, and some other guys, and they were all just like, yeah, you just ramped up volume way too hard, way too quick right after your show. And that's the thing that I think people undervalue. And I love Food's podcast, and I love how they discuss the importance of intensity and everything. But if there is one thing that I want to give to quote unquote science-based lifters in the science-based community, it's that I think people undervalue the importance of the productivity of the entire workout. And that's the issue when it comes to intensity, is like not everybody has the full sense of where that balance is for them, of how intense they need to go in the beginning to make sure that they're going just as intense at the end, which is why, you know, they have that RIR measure, because it kind of just helps some people measure where they need to aim for, I guess. But, you know, I'll work out with my friends, for example, like my boy Roman, who also films for me sometimes. Like this guy, you know, lifting isn't his number one thing, but he loves bodybuilding and everything. Every time I go to the gym with him for leg day, bro is hitting failure on the first fucking set. Bro goes so fucking hard, you know? And there's a lot of us that are like that are like emotional lifters. We put our emotion in our lift because we want to go hard. We want to progress. We really want to, which is cool. It's awesome. But it really just backtracks, and you don't realize that, because this is a game of not just lifting hard and training hard and working hard, but it's also working smart.
Well, it's like, dude, if it was as easy as just training your balls off, eating a bunch of food, taking a bunch of gear, we would all be huge. And when I had Jay Cotton on the podcast, he told us he never ever trained to failure. Didn't train to failure. He thought failure was bad. And he goes, you're more likely to get injured. You're more likely to compensate. You're likely to miss imbalances. He goes, I built my physique with volume. And obviously we go see the videos of him. He wasn't lifting crazy weight either. He's doing 455 on squats. You know, it's Mr. Olympia. It's like, then you see other people lifting insane weight. And then I always used to be confused as a kid watching Dennis Wolf squat 315 only. And I'm like, wow. But now I get it. You know what I mean? Like I get it. They're stimulating the muscle, and they're training the muscle to to near failure, but they're keeping the tension where they need it. They're not all of a sudden rocking into their hips and using their hips to power the weight out of the hole because they don't want us to have a big ass. They want big quads.
Right. Yep.
But it's funny. It's at the end of the day, guys, it's like, and I know you believe this too. It's very individualized. Like you have a set of principles that you'll gravitate with a client, and then you adjust those to how the person is responding. Someone might do a couple drop sets, sure. But like, I think I can't stand it because I understand science. I have a master's in nutrition. I review tons of studies. I get there's genetic variability, but I also understand that one size doesn't fit all with anybody. Doesn't.
Yep.
There's people that end up being hospitalized taking regular doses of Advil, right? Everybody's different. So when it comes to training, like, you have to adjust, individualize. And when people go, oh, you have to train to failure, you have to do this. No, it's a dumb statement. It's an ignorant statement to make because there's a lot of people that don't need to do that and they grow fine. There's people that do that and they don't grow at all. So just like there's many Mr. Olympias, they all train different. They're all of a sudden like, I figured it out because I just copied previous Mr. Olympia's training and now I am where I am. That's not how it works.
Yeah. I found like the perfect middle ground for myself. So I got my genetics done. Said this a million times. I wonder how annoyed my audience is with me saying this now. I got my genetics done from 23andMe, got the raw data, put it in Prometheus, figured out like some of my genetic predispositions and everything. Found out that I have this thing called impaired muscle performance. So it's basically like I have a higher percentage of like slow twitch fibers, or endurance work is something I excel at, but like powerlifting, for example, is something I don't excel at. So, and I found that resonated with me in what I saw with results. Like I saw that like I needed to do higher volume than most people in general. Like higher volume, sometimes higher reps for things like, especially legs and shoulders, it's already higher for most people. But for me, I just like, it was just very evident that I needed to do enough volume per week and I wasn't doing enough to grow them. And that's the changes I made in the last couple of years for legs, is increasing that volume. A couple of people were asking too, which is another reason why I'm saying this, but one of the things I found out though for me personally is that like the middle ground between like Patrick Torres training and then also just doing, and for example, like what you said, seemed to be the best for me, where I would prioritize progressive overload and volume, but at the end of the last exercise of each muscle group, I would do like that hardcore rest pause set. And then afterwards, I'm done. That's where I found out like, okay, I'm not getting any crazy injuries anymore. I'm getting pretty fucking sore, but I'm recovering by the time that I hit that muscle group next. Everything seems to be perfect, Sometimes I'd be a little bit too hard and then my legs would still be a little bit sore by the time I hit legs again, but normally it was pretty close to being on point. So that's where I found the perfect place for me. You
probably have this, and you tell listeners, you're probably very good at keeping your body in the same position as you're reaching that failure. Because we all have seen people start to compensate, arching their back excessively, their left elbow flares out, the shoulder comes forward. You're probably able to keep yourself very stable and keep the tension on the muscle, which is a very overlooked concept when people are training to failure or doing intensifiers, is stop compensating and shifting your body's mechanics to have other muscles assist. Just bring what you're doing to failure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. Every time I did do that in the past, that's where the injuries came in. So which was awesome. Something you mentioned in one of the past podcasts too about training, which I found super fucking interesting. I was curious if you still align with this, but you mentioned that you prefer people to hit most muscle groups at least maybe 2 times per week, which I'm totally on par with too. But you said for chest training, you don't normally see as much of a benefit to hitting it twice per week.
That was me personally.
Okay.
So like
gotcha.
me personally, like I've always been a slow recoverer, like really slow. I trained with one of my friends, Dave Anderson. Dave, you're listening, in high school. And this dude would do so much volume and he's getting stronger every week. And I'm over there being like, I'm getting weaker.
No.
I just couldn't recover from what we were doing. I was like a 9 sets of chest guy per week. And I worked up to 4 or 5 for 5 reps. It just, once I stopped training so much and stopped doing so much volume, I started getting stronger. But no, like for volume, I don't necessarily believe that. It's just more specific response. I do think it's very hard for people to train quads twice per week. Like that's really hard, especially if you're pushing it pretty different. Like, I mean, that leg workout probably has to be pretty low volume or decent intensity to have somebody recover from a full leg workout twice per week. Plus, that's so taxing on the recovery bank for all the other body parts, right? It's like if you're trying to do every body part twice and legs.
Yeah, that's why I think only my legs grew this last year. But that's what I needed to bring up anyway, so it was worth it.
Meaning you did it twice or once per week?
I did it twice per week, but I don't feel like the rest of my body really grew that much, to be honest.
Oh,
a lot of the shit stay the same, man.
Your legs took all the recovery bank, right?
Yeah, my legs literally took like everything. And I had some people commenting like, I think you're like bottom heavy now. And I'm like, what? The fuck are you talking about?
You know what's really funny is like the whole concept of push-pull legs. I started competing in 2005. Push-pull legs wasn't a thing. Training body parts twice per week wasn't a thing. It was your typical bro split. I ran a bro split from 2004 all the way until 2018. And I went from a stage weight of 170 with decent conditioning to ripped on stage at 222 with a bro split. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and I still remember in the first 4 years of bodybuilding, I ran the same damn off-season cycle over and over again. 750 test, 300 or 400 deca, and 40 mgs of D-ball, not even any growth hormone. And I was putting on 10 pounds of stage weight every year. Like it just worked. So like, it's hard for me to always say this is best, this is not. I do think there's a lot of merit now that you think about it. If you have to accumulate 16 working sets in one session, how effective are those last 4 sets? When you can just divide that up into 2 and hit back twice, you're going to be more fresh. The muscle's going to be able to provide a higher output to move the weight, and you might be able to manage fatigue and have more effective volume than doing 16 sets all at once. But again, there's a lot of people that build a lot of crazy physiques training one body part per week. You know what I mean? They did.
Yeah.
You know, David Henry was trained 4 days on and 3 days off, 4 days on, 3 days off. That dude was massive. You know?
Right.
So
there's got to be a huge genetic factor for that too.
Oh, for sure. But like it's genetics, anecdotal. It's hard to just flat out say this is the best, but I do feel that twice per week body parts is superior. I could never prove to you in a study, but I do feel that it is.
The only reason I feel that it is that it's easier to make sure that you're fresh the second half of that volume rather than when you're doing it in the same day, you know? Exactly. I mean, if you're really good at managing, you know, the fatigue on that day off that workout, then maybe it's not that much of a difference for you. But
yeah, dude, 100%. I totally understand. 16 sets, like I do like 16 working sets of legs. Oh my God.
Yeah. I want to ask because fucking Jordan's just looking fucking amazing, and we were actually just DMing the other day, and he's like, "Dude, I'm very excited for Olympia because I think we're going to be bringing something new. We're going to be bringing a new package." Agreed. So, do you want to tell us what that package is?
Well, listen, like you always got to be realistic with your athletes on what you can achieve in 6, 7, 8 weeks. It's like the bottom line is like, bro, we got to clean out a little bit. So it's like I just brought back down to like just test and mast and took everything else out. Gave him more food, told him to back off training for a little bit. On the weekends, go do something fun, relax, get your brain, you know, off of bodybuilding, deload before we have to hit it hard again. And a couple meals off plan. I go, but listen, we can't put on size in that amount of time. Like, we can't sit there and be like, snap our fingers, 5 more pounds in the lats. So, you know, let's do what we can. And what we can do is we can come in with a little harder condition. And we could tweak that a little bit, even though I thought Texas prejudging he was perfect, but we could probably do even a little bit more than that without losing our fullness. But most importantly, we can bring in our waist and we can work on our posing and our presentation. So posing and presentation, bringing your waist can change your physique dramatically, like a lot within 4 weeks. Yeah. So I know he had a lot of difficulty controlling his midsection because he had hernia surgery. So we really avoided a lot of core training because it would aggravate it. So now that he's able to, we implemented a core training routine every day. And I say core, I mean like bracing, vacuum, McGill curl-ups, side planks, things that he can do that allows him to activate the muscles. It's not the purpose of tearing down or accumulating volume of those movements. It's creating resistance within multiple aspects of your core so you're able to connect with it when you flex. So like I can sit here right now and be like, I'm blowing my left oblique. Now I'm blowing my right oblique. Where some people, if they don't ever exercise the area, they can't do that very well, right? They connect with it. So my goal for him was to be able to connect with his midsection very well, to blow out harder on the side tricep, the quarter turns, the ab and thigh, the front relaxed, everything. And then of course, tighten the obliques to bring it in. Jewett did a great job of that over the years. Now his waist comes all the way in. And if Jordan's waist comes all the way in more, we're going to have a crazier V taper. And our quads, the bigger.
That's what it looked like. That's what it looked like in his last post. Yeah.
Dude, the last ab and thigh shot he sent me today, I was like, Jesus. I'm like, dude, we're on the money now. And he's still eating a good amount of food. So I'm like, when we have to be able to like pull the high fiber food out and some protein, that waist can come in even more.
Is there anything you guys did for the back? His back's looking amazing.
Just the typical. His back has come up a lot, and now he's got new equipment over at Absolute in Louisville, the best equipment I've ever seen in my life. He's going to know the connect with it more, but he knows what to do now for his back. Like we're not doing barbell rows and deadlifts and all this things that disrupt so much fatigue, and you can't connect with it. Now, for the listeners, I'm not trashing those exercises, but for somebody who has trouble connecting with your back, those are definitely movements you don't want to do. You want to do movements where you're going to be able to get that strong connection, and then you can gravitate towards back movements that are a little harder to get a connection. But he's got a good routine going down now, and he's able to connect with his back more, and of course, better machinery to be able to blow out the lats, and et cetera. So that's pretty much the deal. He's already had that. It just needs more time doing just that.
Gotcha. What's the plan of attack for y'all's peaking for Olympia as opposed to, say, Texas and Tampa Pro? I know you guys had a pretty amazing experience peaking for Texas.
Yeah, he told you.
I know. I listened to y'all's pod with Milos.
But dude, he
told me a little bit too. Yeah.
Like, you never know what the body's going to do. And I love Chris Aceto's favorite quote is, Chris goes to me, he goes, dude, sometimes right when you think you know a lot about the body and prep, the body will do something completely different, making you realize you know absolutely fucking nothing. All right. So like when I peaked him for Tampa, I peak how I peak everybody. It's just, I'm falling day by day. Whatever the body's doing that day ends up being the change in the plan that day. I don't have I'm not going to be like, Wednesday, we're going to go 0 carb. I don't do that with anybody. It's just starting 7 days out. We make a change, see the response, make a change, see the response, good response, keep it the same. And I just keep going like this. That way for me, it's fail safe. I don't make an error. And we did something for Tampa and obviously it worked. And then the only thing in Tampa, which I would have changed was I wish I probably could have restricted water more in the morning. I just didn't see the water that the stage light was showing. And then when he came off stage at Tampa prejudging, he was still winning out of prejudging, but it was close to Quentin. And I said, as soon as he came off stage, I'm like, 0 water the rest of the day, 0 water to on stage. And then he peed like 3 or 4 more times. We didn't take a diuretic, by the way. So, and then once he kept back on stage at night show, he was perfect.
That's awesome.
So now keeping that in mind, I'm like looking at Texas. I'm like, all right, I have a projected plan of how your body's going to respond. Since I've prepped you for 6 years, I have a pretty good understanding. And his body was predictable every single day until Friday. And then Friday comes and carbs go up. Water's the same as it was Thursday because I'm not a big water cutter guy. I usually keep water always in and keep the water in. I just put it I put a allotment amount with meals in between meals. That way it's easily controlled. And then as the day goes on, every 2 meals, I'm looking at it and I'm like, you're not gaining any weight. You usually gain 6 pounds. I'm accounting for a 6 pound weight gain today and then a 6 pound weight loss on average overnight. And seeing how that happening, it's not happening. I'm like, I'm like, all right, we're gonna add a little more food for the next meal.
Because during the day he was like at the same weight basically.
Yeah,
the entire day, right?
Almost the entire
day.
Like
looking drier.
Yeah, and then getting drier and harder. And I'm like, but this is a problem because you get to the end of the day, you're the same weight and you're dry and you're hard. You can tomorrow morning, you're gonna be flat. Yeah, flat. So like we have to go to bed a little smooth. So I'm like, all right, let's increase the sodium a little bit. Let's increase the food. And then I might add another 500 mLs of water before bed, which would be like 6.5 liters, I think, that night. And I'm like, and I look at the end of the day, I'm like, bro, you're fucking nasty. And then he goes, I'm like, Jordan, this is my take. We have to be on stage around noon. So we do have room for error if we take a diuretic and it goes too far. But if we wake up tomorrow morning, we can also take a diuretic in the morning and dry out as well if we're not dry enough. And we both came to the decision that we'll just take a quarter of a diazide. And then if it's too flat in the morning, we can just fix it with more water and more salt. Mm-hmm. And we go, all right, deal. Let's take a quarter diazide. And we did it. Woke up this morning, it was lights out, like lights out. And then I'm like, dude, you're a little flat. I think 1 meal with 300 mLs of water 400 ounces of water, and we'll take a look. And he did it, and he only gained like 1 pound, and his body came alive. And I'm like, we're just going to maintain that as the day goes on. But like, awesome, that's a perfect example of like, you have a plan, your body's responding how it was responding on Thursday, predicting what Friday's going to be. And Friday, your body goes, I have other plans. I'm just going to stay this late. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess for Olympia though, do you guys have to, I'm assuming you're just going to try to do the same kind of strategy and then just monitor it every single day, see how it goes.
Yeah.
Make those adjustments as needed, right?
Yeah. I just know that Jordan full is not the best look. When he's full, it's not the best look.
Okay.
When he's slightly under full, he's the best look. But no, I'm just going to do what I've always done, especially now, obviously I mean, last year when we did Chicago to Tampa to Texas, like every single one of those peaks was a little different, and it's all based on what the body's doing at that time. Like there's nothing like the amount of water, salt was the same, amount of water might vary a little bit. The food varied a little bit, but Texas Pro, we were very low carb for him. It was like 75 grams of carbs per meal for a carb up, and it was fine. And then Tampa, he was a lot more carbs. So it's just, you know, it is, man. It's just what the body's doing, I'm going to do. And that's it. There's no like preconceived status. We get there Monday on purpose. That way we allow a good 40 hours for his body just to get acclimated. I'll set him in so he's very stress-free. Because that's my goal, is to keep him calm and relaxed and stress-free. As soon as the body gets, as soon as your mind gets stressed, your body just does weird shit. And then all the things you try to do to fill out and dry out just doesn't work as well.
Just doesn't. Yep.
No.
Happened to me. I fucking got bursitis in my knee, like right before I flew to a show. Crazy inflammation in the knee. The whole week was just the worst week of my life, man. I just was stressing the fuck out of not being able to walk. I was limping everywhere. I was like, dude, what am I going to fucking do for this show? And obviously the inflammation and stress and the water retention just never went off. So yeah, it was a terrible experience. But
the body follows the mind 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Something I really like that you do that Kyle also did with me is the whole like weighing yourself as the day goes on, seeing where your weight is, seeing where you land at the end, and waking up in the morning. I just feel like it's super calculated.
Yeah.
When did you start doing that? And
I've done it for a while now. So like typically it depends on the person, but like for obviously somebody at a very high level, a very big show, they're weighing themselves fasted after meal 2, after meal 4, and after meal 6 on Thursday. Okay. And then Friday, depending on the person, they're doing the same thing, or I need weight before each meal. So then it'd be weight before each meal. That way I can adjust the fluid for that meal if I need to. Usually food is already in one way or another predetermined based on Thursday's response. And then I'll probably adjust it if I need to. But I like to know what the weight is beforehand. But I always have an idea of like where they are. Because I had a guy win UK championships, an older masters guy this past weekend. And I know that the first half of the day, quarter of the day, he gains weight quickly, like quick. Mm-hmm. He's like, oh my God, 3 pounds up already. Like, oh, do I freak out? No, you're fine. And then like 4 hours later, he's back down like 2.5 pounds. Like I knew that was going to happen because that's just him. He eats, his body retains for a second, and then he starts peeing. So it's like, I knew that was going to happen. So I think taking the weight is important, and knowing that trend and knowing their weight before they go to bed, starting 7 days out. So you can predict idea of how much water they're diuresing overnight, because you can always know this. Most people don't sleep well the night before the show. So you're never going to diurese the same weight from Friday night to Saturday morning. You can predict it, be like, they lost 5.5 pounds on average every single night, Monday all the way through Thursday night to Friday morning, but they're not going to lose 5.5 pounds from Friday into Saturday. And that's where a diuretic becomes very useful, because it can kick the same amount of water off.
Yep. Why would you say most people don't sleep so well before the show?
They're just excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time.
But able to calm down. They gotta calm down. They act like it's a UFC fight. They're fucking pumped, dude. Fucking tweaking out. I'm looking at my, they're just all wound up.
Yeah.
I mean, like
just daydreaming about my posing routine, trying to make sure that it's perfect. As if that's going to change anything.
Exactly. And like, telling somebody to relax doesn't work ever.
Yeah.
So I try to just, one thing I do with my guys though, because I've made this mistake before, I try to go over the routine of what they're doing. So where are you staying? Oh, I'm staying in a hotel with like 2 of my buddies. I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're staying by yourself. Oh, really? Yeah, you're not staying with anybody. I'm not doing that game. You know how many fucking times that's ended in disaster because their buddy gets in an argument with their wife and that's in the room and now they're stressed because they're fucking fighting. Dude, no, you stay by yourself. They can stay in another room. Don't stay with another competitor either. Stay by yourself or with your best one person only. And like, that's it. I remember one time one guy's like, oh, my whole family came. I'm like, it's like fucking 14 people in a room, bro. Like, like that's the dumbest idea ever. I know they want to support you. They can support you tomorrow, but like, let's make it through the night. And he's like, oh man, they're like watching TV. They're being loud. The kids jumping in the bed. It's dumb.
Yeah. You ever feel like there's also other variables though that are contributing to that sleep? Just like, you know, lower estrogen and like the dehydration.
I don't know. For me, like most of the time for people, it's excitement. And like I said, I don't ever cut water really the day before. So like dehydration's not really a thing for them. And I usually will listen, I do whatever I can to make somebody sleep well. And a lot of my guys, their biggest meal of the day is the night before, is the meal before they go to bed. If they start to have trouble sleeping because of hunger, I will allocate a large amount of calories to that meal. That way they eat it and they fall into that rest and digest mode. And they're like, oh, I feel relaxed. Good, go to sleep. So like when people are like, oh, I keep my post-workout meal the biggest or pre-workout the biggest. Yeah, some guys. But as soon as they have poor sleep, I'm moving that food to the last night of the meal. Last meal of the day. 100%.
Are you just saying in general, like on any day, or are you saying specifically pre-show?
Every day. If I had a client who's like, dude, I can't sleep. I'm hungry at night. Like I'm freaking out. I'm moving food all the way to that time.
Okay,
gotcha. I'll take food out of meal 1, 2, and 3, and I'll move it into the last 3. And I'll even sometimes go really overboard and make meal 1 very small, and then make meal 6, last meal of the day, huge.
I love that, bro.
They're like, dude, I'm sleeping again. I am only peeing once in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So I'll also have them add a little more salt to the last meal of the day to help hold water in so they can sleep, not peeing 6 times a night. Because as soon as sleep falls apart, everything falls apart. Yeah.
It's funny because you see on like layman's just everywhere, just, oh, don't eat like a big meal before bed so you can sleep. Like don't eat like 2-3 hours before bed so you can sleep and stuff. For me, I'm just like, bro, I'll hardly eat in the beginning. And like, I just love having the big meals at the end. It just feels right.
Yeah,
it feels so much better. And I just
like you said, though, there is some merit to saying that because you get someone who's reflux, who's already a general population client and they're fat and they're eating large before they go to bed and they get reflux and they can't sleep. Yeah, obviously there's some truth to that. Or I'm sure you and I both been there before where we eat way too much at night in the off season and then we sleep because now we're uncomfortable and we're like regurgitating food in our throat. Yeah. Your body's like more alert, it's stressed. So like there is some merit to that, but like there's those are extreme cases.
If you feel like any of the medications that we spoke about today may benefit you, such as BPC 157, GH secretagogues such as Tesamorelin, IGF1, oxandrolone troche, Semaglutide, then you can obtain these from Transcend HRT, and the link for that will be in the bio. If you feel like you're experiencing symptoms of low testosterone, such as depression, anxiety, lack of motivation, as well as lack of sex drive, then you can get this checked out as well by getting your blood work done at Transcend, and they will provide you expert medical analysis. Transcend HRT has worked with many professional bodybuilders and pro athletes, such as Thor Bjornsson, Phil Heath, and Jeremy Buendia. And if you feel like this podcast has any relevancy to you, I do believe that this clinic will provide of great benefit to you as well. I am the king of allergies. I once had a podcast with, I don't know if you've heard of Togi, the one influencer kid that got famous for doing like steroid edits of him injecting himself with a needle, and then he started gambling and doing these crazy YouTube videos that were like hilarious. And
dude, no, well, I don't follow anybody. I don't know.
That's probably a good thing then.
Yeah.
Well, I was just doing a podcast with him a while back, and like I just keep sneezing because of my allergies and stuff, and everyone just thought I was doing coke with him. Fantastic. It's a secret, guys. I want to ask you actually before the Q&A, but how's prep going with James Hollingshed?
Well, James is good. Dude, when it comes to, we didn't place how we wanted to place, but like looking at his pictures and being there in person and seeing him, I had no complaints other than posing. I thought he looked conditioned. He's most conditioned he's been in a long time.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was flat. We just need to be less conditioned and bigger. So like, I'm looking at the guys ahead of him. Like, he just needs to be full as a house for James. So like, he was 266 on stage. So we need to be probably 272, 273 on stage. And we can sacrifice some glute lines. We can sacrifice some lines just to get that huge full pop upstairs. Because when he gets conditioned, the upper body loses that crazy pop that James is known for, which will end up making up for the lack of clavicle width. He has narrow clavicles.
Yeah.
So if he can't afford to get any fullness to be lost in the upper body. So like, if we can manage to move away from some of the condition and fill him out, which we're doing that now, we're feeding the shit out of him. He's eating a lot today. Saw his pictures today. He's looking already fuller, but we're going to keep driving that weight till we get to about 272, assess the whole thing, see if we can push a little higher if we can, without getting too soft, and then see how the cookie crumbles from there. And we're working on core control and posing, but prepping him was honestly easy. It really was easy. And I'm friends with him. So we talked every single day. And it was smooth. Like I had no issues with the prep. I was honestly happy with the look on stage. It just wasn't what we needed to place how we normally places.
I see. Yeah. I fucking love James too. He's like dad, so introspective, always has like the right advice and everything.
Yeah.
But, are you saying this about what you guys need to achieve now because of what you guys need for the judging criteria on that stage, or because this is kind of like his genetic response and he just seems to look better if he's more filled out?
Both. It's both.
Okay.
So I'm looking at the guys ahead of him and like from the back, like James was peeled, ripped, glutes, hams, everything peeled. And I see a lot of, obviously Hassan was fat. He's just huge. And like, obviously at the end of the day, it's a muscle show, right? It's a muscle show. Mm-hmm. So if we can get rid of some of that and look bigger and pop and more full, because James doesn't have a strong V taper. He doesn't. So like, we need to get that fullness back to the upper body to create the illusion of that V taper. He can't really change too much of his structure, obviously, but you can change the illusion of, and that's what we need to do.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. You mentioned that that Jordan was 8 weeks out from the Olympia since Texas, right? So was it roughly 8? It was, right?
Yeah, I think it was 8, 7 or 8.
Something like that. Yeah. So like with James being pretty like closer, having a lot less weeks between shows, what would you do for someone that has, say, like 3 weeks in between shows?
In his situation or anybody?
Anybody.
3 weeks usually, like in a nutshell, the first week is like, dude, chill out. Don't start training legs really heavy and hard on Monday, right? Maybe start training Tuesday, get a few meals off plan, Saturday night, Sunday, kind of deload, rest, get your sleep schedule back, get your meals and everything order for Monday, go back to like a light training session on Monday, light cardio or keep your step count pretty high and to start working back into your normal routine. And then see how your body's going to rebound, because ultimately it's always the question of, is your body going to rebound? Is it going to retain water coming out of a 4-day hard carb up and or diuretic use and then restricting water and adding water, or if you did any of that, how's it going to respond? So generally I give people moderate calories. I don't put them on the same low fat diet. I put them on like moderate amount and just have them follow it exactly and eat only weight every day just to see the weight trend. If he starts to like spike really hard, I end up like having to pull back a little bit already because I want to be ahead of that rebound. I don't want them to like get all the way to the week later and they're already 8 pounds up and it's still going up and up. I don't want that. I want them to like get that rebound over with if it's going to happen and come right back down to baseline body weight 7 days out. Gotcha. 7 days post show. And then that way you have a week to normalize from that rebound, a week to train, and then a week to peak week again.
Okay. Gotcha. What about PEDs? Do you keep that consistent or do you change anything?
I always pull orals right away. It's the first thing I do. I always give them their liver a break for a little bit, whether it's depending how far they have. If it's for 3 weeks, I'll give them an oral break for 7 to 10 days. And at that point, it's not going to make a shit of difference. You have all the oils in already. But I will pull the orals out and then bring them back in the same amount, or sometimes even less if they're looking disgustingly nasty.
Okay. Disgustingly nasty. Like that.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people surprise me. You know, just like you look at them, you're like, dude, you look retarded. Like this is insane. It's like, yeah, we can sprinkle in like tab of the Winstrol or whatever. That's fine. But I'm not going to be like, you know, because at that point in time, they've already had 4 days of not training and carbs, then a day of rest and eating with family. So it's like, that's a big break for the body.
Yeah.
Now fatigues kind of come off and they feel good and they're happy. And then their body just fills back out. And so at that point in time, like there's not any need really.
Right. Okay. Huh. Cool. What about with James then? How is it different with James right now?
He did pull the orals out, but he didn't rebound at all.
Mm-hmm.
So like we ate a shit ton of food on Friday. Like I'm talking 200 grams of rice measured dry, 30 grams of carbs from fruit. Because I always carb people up on fruit with every meal. I
fucking love that, by the way. I totally forgot to say that I love that you use fruit.
Yeah.
It's fucking fantastic.
Right. You have a potassium source. You have fiber. Fiber that's not going to bloat you, but it will help you shit, because I don't want my guys constipated eating, you know, a godly amount of rice products. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it gives them something different to eat. So it's always either dates, banana, or apples. That's usually what I use mostly. And then he's at like 30 grams of added fat per meal, and he was just barely filling out. And then it finally stuck after a few meals of that. Then it started to stick and body started to fill out a little bit more. But for him, like he didn't really eat much off plan. You know, we everything was kind of closed when we were done. We went home. I had a flight the next morning, and I told him he should have a nice meal with family when he gets back home on Sunday night, but just keep it reasonable. He sent me a picture of it. I'm like, dude, you can eat all that. Not a big deal. Just don't binge eat. Just don't binge. Have a nice meal, but don't binge. And then he didn't rebound at all. And then today he's already trending down from his highest weight. So he's about 265 today. And I gave him a lot more food today. It was like, yeah.
What was his stage weight?
Stage weight was 266.4.
Okay. And he was 265 today?
He was 265 and change today. Correct.
Okay. Gotcha. Cool. Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. I'm interested in seeing the next package, man. That'll be exciting, because I do remember, I don't even know what post it was. And I think you mentioned I don't know if it was on pod or if you mentioned it actually in a comment on that post, if it was bodybuilding with borders or whatever. But obviously there were some comments that, like, there always are going to be those people that are flaming, saying like, oh yeah, James looks like small, his upper body looks small, but they're not really realizing that you guys are literally just like depleting and finding him out and making sure he's conditioned.
He was 258 in that picture. Let's just be honest. Anybody who's 258 with strided glutes is not small. Right? You know what I mean? It's not small.
Yeah.
But like, we filled it at 266 and he was fine. He just needs to be even fuller with less condition. I think that'll be a better package for him.
What weight do you think that's going to land at again?
And we agreed today, we chatted today about it. And I said, I want to drive that weight up slowly, gradually to 272 and then assess. I think between 272 and 275 is where he's going to be able to be without losing condition, where someone can say, bro, you lost because of condition. Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I think we can get there and be full as a house without losing too much. And obviously it's way easier to do that when you're already shredded, right? It's kind of like, it's hard to do it on the way down, but once you're there, you just start adding back, because you can't get fat in a week. Do you know what I mean? You can't get fat in 2 weeks, provided you're not eating like a total ass. And we're just systematically adding more calories. So yeah, I think that's where he'll be. If I was a betting man, I'm thinking close to 272.
Okay, cool.
That's what I want.
Awesome. So something I want to ask too, aside from the fact that I really love that you have fruits and shit and nutrition, I think that's something that's very like different than, you know, old school bodybuilding, right? Yeah. Fucking rice, cream of rice, cream of rice, oats. And I see all the merit in doing so. I think a lot of even like old school coaches have kind of evolved to like involve more fruits and variety in the diets, realizing how important it is. Because I wasn't a fan of the old argument that since fruit is more fructose, it's going to be glycogen that's primarily stored in the liver first. You know, the entire, the argument. Yeah. But one of the things that I also really like about what you do, especially in the off season, is keeping guys lean for the sake of insulin sensitivity.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
I don't get it. I don't understand.
What do you have to say about I guess old school bodybuilding coaches? I know there's been a bunch, and I'm sure they still believe this to an extent, and press this, but saying that like you must eat a lot of food, like you must eat high calories, high amounts, and part of the problem that a lot of people aren't making gains because they're just not eating enough.
I used to believe that too, but I fell into that dogmatic viewpoint. But like, I guess now that I've been coaching for as long as I have, I just don't see it. Like, how many times have I gotten people years ago where you're just pushing food and and they can't eat anymore? Then you're adding peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and you're adding Pop-Tarts and you're adding insulin.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just be like, bro, I feel like shit. I'm tired all the time. Training sucks. I have reflux. I can't sleep at night. I'm like, we're not getting anywhere. And then in hindsight, I look at the 6 people that put more than 10 pounds of stage weight in last year that I had, and every single one of them stayed lean for the entire year, maintained an excellent appetite, slept great, and they felt awesome training. So it's like, it is, we've all been there. When you're force feeding food, training's not very fun.
Yeah.
Because you don't feel good. Yeah. And if you don't feel good and you're just force feeding something to your body that's not taking, it's not going to work. There are people that like have poor appetites that you have to force themselves to eat. That is true. But to make the blanket statement of like, you got to force feed food and put on a bunch of weight, I just don't think that's not accurate. It's not accurate. Right. It's just not.
Mm-hmm.
You can push as much food as you can, provided training is still good. You're not getting excessively fat and sleep is still good. If you can do that and then by all means, fucking eat as much as you want.
Gotcha.
But it just, when it comes to the point of force feeding food, I've never seen any one of my clients ever in the standpoint of force feeding food. And it ended up being like, wow, we put on 15 pounds of muscle this year.
Yeah.
I've never seen.
I think the one thing that these guys needed to, I think the one thing that they were missing that they weren't like saying, that's probably really important as like a disclaimer, is that, and this is like, this in terms of like gear load or like amount is relative to like your response, right? It's like, how well are you responding to it? Are you responding a lot? Is just and Mike Sommerfeld said this on my podcast with him, is with more gear requires more food. And if someone's pushing more, that's where the need for more food is required. But obviously there's a certain level and there's a balance in it, right? Because, in the 2000s, we had guys that were pushing max amounts of fucking gear, max amounts of food. And what did that do to their digestive system too, in the long run? You kind of come up with a physique that's not exactly optimal and not going to win shows these days.
No.
So I feel like that's probably...
I totally agree.
Mm-hmm. Is there any drugs that you 100% avoid?
I don't really use D-ball in the offseason. I feel like Anadrol is more, I feel like 25 milligrams of Anadrol is more useful. I rarely have anybody ever take 50. I think 25 just gives you a little bit, but it doesn't crush your appetite and it's a longer half-life. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I have had people use D-ball this last year, but like that's all they could get. So it's not my first choice by any means, just because the blood values just spike up and down. And I've never seen anybody like use D-ball, or I could say I see it, I implement it, and I'm like, wow, this was a game changer. I usually be like, oh, they have great training, and then they stop after a period of time, and it's like training's back to where it was. I'm like, okay, we didn't get anywhere. Where like Anadrol, on the other hand, I've seen people like legit make ground. Like legit make gains. But that's not everybody. I don't use Trensparent. I don't use these new exotic drugs, DHB. Obviously now we have a worldwide shortage of Primo and Mastron, so we're kind of limited now of like Quest and EQ. I don't use too much DEC or NPP anymore either. I used to. If I do, it's a short stint of NPP because I feel like there's just too many psychological side effects with people and too many things to gamble, where at first they feel great, then they feel like depressed, then they're bad, then you got to take Caber or prolactin blocker. I just don't want to be a chem guy. I don't want to be that. I just don't think I haven't seen it. If somebody says to me, though, comes to me like, dude, NPP is my favorite drug. It works amazing. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. I'm like, okay, then we're going to leave it. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, I'm not one who's, dude, I'm not a coach where I'm just like stuck in my ways.
Yeah.
If you come to me and you're like, bro, I love keto diets and I want to die in low carb. I'm like, okay, bro, we'll die in low carb. You know what I mean? Let's go.
Yeah.
You know, if that's what you're telling me, let's go. But like, I want to see progress. And if I would be, all right, we'll take your approach and I'll work with that. And if it looks like we're not progressing, I'm going to have to bring in some carbs here and there. And usually the client's like, okay, yeah, cool. I understand. But I try to listen to my clients and I talk to my clients. We make decisions together. I don't dictate. I don't tell people to shut up and just follow the plan. I explain why. I mean, every time, like with Jordan, like anytime I make a change, in the first line of my check-in, I'll always write what I'm seeing and what we're changing and what I expect to see. So he kind of understands, like, oh, okay, I got it. I follow what we're doing. Like, I don't just make a change or something. I don't understand these changes. Like, I always explain to them.
Gotcha. That's cool. Fan of that. So my favorite thing about this podcast, man, is like being able to discuss things with people like over and over again. It's really cool to just like see how, like, especially with open-minded individuals like you, how like the information and education and just like your attacks at things kind of evolve over time.
Yeah.
Which is obviously so fucking necessary because we're always going to keep evolving. Have you implemented Retatrutide with any clients?
I had clients come to me already on it. That's how it started.
Okay.
That's this whole thing started. I've been using this. Can I use it? Okay. I'll have to learn about it now. Learn about it. You know, okay, we can keep it in. It's not a big deal. I've used it personally myself. I've tried to try it to figure out more of like understanding of it. Mm-hmm. Right. My father's a physician, so I also talk to my dad a lot about all these things. And I am aware that obviously you're aware too, the major lawsuits that are going on with GLPs and GLP drugs in patients. And there's a lot of patients with gastroparesis, permanent messed up issues, eyesight, things like that. So I tell all my clients, dude, when these new drugs come out and you want to jump on the bandwagon, you got to be fucking careful. Yeah. Like, you know, you don't just take it willy nilly and start running 18 milligrams of Retatrutide. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Well, why don't we start with a bare minimum if you're going to use it and then see what the outcome is? But the bottom line is we know what T3 does. We know what Clen does. We know what Anavar, Winstrol, Test, Trenbolone, we know what they do. And we know the long-term effects pretty much as well because they've been out for fucking years. Mm-hmm. So these new drugs, for me, it makes me nervous because, I mean, look how many women's physique have passed away in the last like year or 2 years, and females. Like, since when are females in our industry passing away? Now they're passing away like every month. So it's like, what are they doing? I know a lot of these top coaches are putting them on DNP and all these other crazy concoctions of fat burning drugs, which is probably ending their life.
I would have thought people would be fucking not using DNP anymore.
But people still use DNP all the time, bro. All the fucking time. It's ridiculous. But that's my take on it. I think it's going to, when it actually gets FDA approved, it's going to change fat loss forever. It really is going to. But this is the problem. And as my father explained to me, he's like, Chris, I have people who come in all the time and ask me for GLP-1s, but they don't want to change their lifestyle or exercise. They just want to take the drug and want the drug to take the fat loss off. And he goes, well, the problem with that is they come in 2 months later and they're like, Doc, I've only lost 5 pounds. Well, why aren't I losing more? And my dad's like, well, you should probably do the part 2, right? Eat a little better, exercise more. Well, can I just take more of the drug? And he goes, you can do that. And you're approved to use the upper threshold of what's recommended by the drug, but you're going to have more side effects. Yep. And you can potentially run into some serious side effects. And which is crazy is people are okay with that. So like, you know, when people take a little bit of Retatrutide, a little bit, maybe 1 milligram a week or even less, you can get a positive benefit, especially when you're combining with a very strict exercise plan and of course nutrition. You can go pretty far. But I'm not by any means on board, and it honestly disgusts me when people are like, I just want to use it to lower my appetite. And I'm sorry, dude, then this is not sport for you. Yeah. Like if you can't deal with being hungry for 12 weeks, dude, cut me a break. Cut me a break. You know, I don't want people using it for that purpose. Or people are like, I'm just going to use this because it's pressing my appetite. Or you can just toughen up. That's fine too.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with that as well. The one place that I found it very beneficial to be honest, I was on your side because I'm someone who had to starve my entire life. Like I started off as I started as a fat kid when I was younger, got bullied for it, all this shit. The reason I started bodybuilding is because like, damn, this is the one way that I can actually eat food and it contributes to my fucking progress. So I started fucking lifting and shit at 12 years old and did everything I could to lose weight. Obviously I didn't know anything when I was 12, so I was just starving myself. It was just a really bad cycle, but basically long story short, like when I got my pro card, I was eating like 1,100 calories to 1,200 calories in the last few weeks, just snacking on boxes of spinach. So it's like, when Retatrutide came out, I was like, damn, you eliminated like the hardest part of all of life in bodybuilding for people and all these new competitors. And like, obviously it made me feel a little salty, you know, but I see the benefit of microdosing, especially when Eric Janicki kind of opened it up to me and he was like, yeah, I'm actually on this. I haven't told anyone yet. The problem was he was having a lot of issues with his family and his wife because he was like, his wife would be like, why the fuck aren't you like taking care of the kids? He's fucking crying. And he'd just be standing there zoned out because he's been like just all these like issues that came with one, just his hunger levels and his blood sugar, and it like affected his, I think his presence and his mentality with his family or whatever. It just affected his relationship. So he when he got on it, it's like his family and his wife couldn't tell that he was prepping, which I think there I could see the psychological benefit. If you're taking it at a low dose and it's like benefiting your life and relationships and lowering your psychological stresses, I can see a big benefit there for sure. But I've also seen the other side where people are taking too much of the dose, causing themselves GI distress. And this may not, I'm sure there'll be some people that don't like my take on this, and it's fine. It's just an opinion. But I feel like whenever the dose is taken up too high, it is definitely easier for you to back up your GI tract and cause your waist to kind of, like, you know how you and Jordan are trying to slim down your waist?
Yeah.
It just makes it so much harder. It really does. You're eating less food, but you're still eating the same plan. You're still on the same amount of food that's in the plan if you're a bodybuilder. But now it's just moving through your GI tract slower. And if you're eating that much protein, it's going to be a little backed up. So
and if you push yourself hard, sympathetic nervous system wise, you might have some serious constipation issues. I just wish people would understand and fully grasp the effect of what some of these things that we're doing are going to play later in life. And like, unfortunately, like people don't remember that. They think about, I just want to win this local show. They don't understand. I mean, dude, because I'm a dietitian, for some reason, people think I can fix them. And I can't even tell you how many people have come to me with kidney failure. People that you know,
Jesus,
in this industry, they're like, Chris, you're a dietitian. The doctor's scaring me. I don't know if he knows what he's talking about. Can you look at my numbers? I look at his numbers. I'm like, bro, you're done. Like, you're done. What do you mean I'm done? Like, you're not fixing your kidneys to bodybuild again. You're not fixing your kidneys to step on stage with one physique again. You're not. You're done. Like, you're going to have to prolong your kidneys for as long as you can. I've had people come to me who had mild heart attacks from other coaches. I don't want to tell anybody I had mild heart attack. It's embarrassing. I want to know like what you think. I'm like, dude, you're done. Like, you're going to have to start making the changes to your lifestyle to prolong your life.
Yeah.
People just take these things like they're M&Ms. They're not fucking M&Ms. Like, you got to know what you're doing and don't be blind to just recommendations. Like, understand what you're doing, understand the potential side effect later in life, and get the most out of the least. Like, that's it. Don't use it as a crutch, as you said. It's just like 6-8 milligrams of Retatrutide. Come on, bro. Come on. You know?
Yeah. What's the biggest catastrophe that you've had with a client?
Biggest catastrophe. Like, it was my doing I fucked up, or one client fucked up?
It could be either.
I got one. It wasn't on me. So we get to peak week, and I told him, he goes, we can take diuretics. We take diuretics. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know yet. We'll decide Friday night when we get there. Be sure. I want to get dry. This dude's already ripped, dry as a fucking bone already. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So I give him, a slight decline in calories on Monday and Tuesday. And then I don't hear from him. Disappears. Messaging, bro, what's going on? Having back pictures. Thursday morning, nothing. Bro, what's going on? I'm blowing up his phone. Call him. Bro, you all right? You're freaking me out. Thursday night, oh, dude, really sorry. I'm embarrassed. I've been in the ER. I'm like, what? ER for what? He's like, dude, I gave myself rhabdomyolysis.
Oh.
I'm like, how, like, what? I don't understand. He's like, well, I really wasn't listening to what you're saying. I started taking 100 milligrams of Aldactone on Sunday per day. And
my God.
And when you told me to drop my calories, I knew what you're trying to do. You're trying to deplete my glycogen. So I was training 2 hours a day with weight training. And I started to pull my water back because I wanted to be really, really dry, man. I want to be really dry. And then he ended up like getting to the ER with rhabdo. And then he had a mild heart attack because the potassium was so high.
Holy shit.
Dumb.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's dumb.
A week out.
He would have won. He would have easily won. Easily.
Oh, man.
He would have done 3 poses in this one. They would like go off the stage. And then his wife made him retire. He's like, you're fucking done.
Oh,
I remember his wife was like, dude, you're an idiot. You're done. Well, good for her. Good for her. And then I would think the only thing that comes to mind, which I messed up on, was my good friend Christian Coronado. And that's nothing like it wasn't like negligence. We had to make weight for nationals one year. And he's a good friend of mine. He's awesome. And he has his pro card now. He died himself a couple years later. But I had to make him make weight, and he made weight. And then when I was filling him back up, I should have brought more sodium back in, and I should have brought more fluid back in faster. And I just didn't. And his fluid balance just got all messed up. And on the process of filling out, like he didn't even really fill out. He just got smooth, which confused me at the time. Looking back, it's been 5 years or whatever years ago. Like I understand what happened, but then I was really upset. I was like, fuck, because like he's my friend, and like obviously like I want the best for him, and like I made a call and it wasn't the right call. Anytime you make a call as a coach and it's not the right call, and you care, it sucks. Yeah. So looking back on it, I'm like now I understand like what it was, and obviously that's why you're always trying to better yourself, improve, and look at what happened and make the right calls.
Mm-hmm. Do you monitor or keep magnesium and potassium at any certain levels throughout peak week?
So because I start removing vegetables and potatoes from people's plans, and not everybody eats potatoes, but I usually have potato as an option for their last meal. But I'll usually will start to make sure that they have at least anywhere from 250 to 350 milligrams of potassium from fruit with every meal starting Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Okay. And that's dates, banana, or apple. Apple's a little weak on potassium, so I might add a date to that. And then vegetables are out. So that's kind of how I control for potassium. I want potassium to be in every meal.
Gotcha.
I know there's some potassium in meat. I get it, but that's not what I'm focusing on at that point in time, since so many vegetables have come out.
Right. Right.
Sodium, sodium I always keep consistent. I always have them get an idea about 12 days out. Wait, what are you doing for sodium? I don't know. We'll find out. Then they tell me what they're adding per meal. And then I'm like, okay, so you're roughly at 1,000 milligrams per meal. You're roughly at 750 or 5, whatever it is. I'm like, okay, just hold it there. Be consistent for me. And then I might adjust that later. But I usually will just crank up the sodium Saturday morning. I might double the sodium or 1.5 times the sodium on Saturday. Or if they're not filling out fast enough and I'm feeding them, they're not like popping, then I'll probably increase sodium per meal along with carbs on Friday if I need to. But I only do that probably 20% of the time. If you get a head scratcher where you're like, this is weird, you're not filling out, it's strange, and then I'll do that, and it usually works.
Okay.
But that's the only things, the 2 things I control for. I don't potassium load anybody. I don't water load people. I don't generally carb deplete people. I might bring calories down a little bit, which would be more like their fat burning diet, just to like get them back down into their lowest weight. But I don't do anything drastic than the week of. I don't do anything like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Not much.
Why destroy a good physique already?
Yeah. I want my guys ready 3 weeks out. And like, I get comments all the time now. They're like, bro, how is a guy 6 weeks out? How is he 4 weeks? That's insane. No, because I'm looking at him at 6 weeks out like he's 3 weeks out. You know what I'm saying? Like if he's 4 weeks out, I'm looking at him, he's 1 week out. That's how I operate, because I want to get to 3 weeks out, and then I want to remove the cardio. I want to start adding a little bit of food back in. I want to start improving sleep. I want them to start feeling better. I want their training performance to improve. And of course, I want to run a few mock-up carbs. Okay. Saturday and Sunday, we're going to bring the carbs up, 250 grams in each day. Let's remove the cardio and train those days. Just relax and chill. Let's see how your body responds. Let's check it out. And then that way I get a good idea of how they're going to respond. So I at least have a projection of what the carb up will be. And then based on the carb up and the projection and their pictures and their weight, I'll make the fine-tuned adjustments to that.
Okay. Gotcha. Is the rest, or no, is this for all divisions where you start feeding them back up and removing cardio about 3 weeks out?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't help women anymore. I'm not interested.
Okay.
But I help. And the main reason is because the amount of drugs they have to use to be competitive, I don't have nothing to do with that. I have nothing to do with that. I don't have anything to do with turning women into a man. That's for sure. And that's when I'm all set.
That's scary.
I know there's some physically, genetically fit women who don't really do much. And I used to diet women. I've had figure pros and fitness. But I mean, you look at Jenny Lynn and Monica Brandt back in the day, then you look at the girls today, totally different story. I just don't have any interest in that. I respect them. I just don't have any interest in them as a coach. So I help men's physique, classic, and bodybuilding, but it's all the same story.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. What about training as peak week approaches? What does that normally look like?
I generally don't change it at all, except two things: no legs 7 days or earlier, and remove failure training and stay in RIR of like 2. They can keep everything else exactly the same. Gotcha. I want to keep the volume the same. I want to keep everything exactly the same because I operate on consistency. So everything's going to be as consistent as possible. That allows me to do the best thing. You get to peak week and you start changing your water, your salt, you have new depletion workouts, you're changing so many things. I don't do any of that.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's my fucking problem during peak week is I can't help but go to failure and learn how to back off on peak week. Because like Patrick will just say like pump chest and back pump on Thursday, for example, and I like the idea. It's a pump. There's no failure there. But like on the previous workouts, there was not like the word pump in there. So I don't know. I think just like subconsciously, I'm like, oh man, I have to go to failure at least a few times or so. And I think it kind of backtracked a little bit for me.
If fatigue's high, it probably did. If fatigue wasn't that high, it's probably fine. Mm-hmm. But there's always a big difference going to failure on a pec deck versus a dumbbell row. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's different movements that drive different amount of fatigue. So like, I don't care if people are doing failure to bicep curls and triceps. It's like, you're not going to create systemic fatigue doing that. You're going to create a lot of systemic fatigue doing bent over barbell rows until you're green in the face. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I see a lot of coaches doing no legs at least 7 days or whatever. Do you know, like, what's the reason for 7 days?
Allow your legs to recover fully, 1, and remove fatigue, 2, because have you ever noticed it? Like if you don't train legs for a while, don't do cardio, how deep the cuts in your legs get? Mm-hmm. It gets insanely deep.
Yeah.
So I want that, the natural diuresis of the water of the legs from fully covered just to leave.
That makes sense. Okay. Cool. I think the one thing for me, I've seen anecdotally for myself, I don't know why I said all of those things, is that like whenever I don't train them for 7 days or more, the cuts get deeper, but it's like, it also just,
they get flatter.
It's tough, man. It gets flatter. Yeah, It does get flatter.
Yep, 100%.
And that's the hard thing, I think, to balance. Cause like if there's someone like me where like, I have a low quad sweep and it's at the bottom. So like naturally it's already kind of a straight quad and it needs like, it only rounds out the more full it is. It's like, that's where I find like a hard balance of like, just how much can we fill this out so that it's at least rounded, the shape is there. Cause I know that's important for classic.
Well, then that's okay then. I mean, like that's where things get individualistic. Like, and I do the same thing. If I get a guy whose legs are small, like I don't necessarily going to pull legs. I might tell them not to go crazy. Maybe stay with like leg press and some like, split squats and lunges. I'm not going to have them do squats. But I might do that to keep them for that very reason. But for sure. But if somebody's like, they don't have deep cuts in their legs, I'm definitely pulling legs out, maybe 10 days out, to expand that. So it's definitely an individual basis. And I totally understand what you're saying.
Gotcha. Cool. What's the most anxious moment you've ever had as a coach?
Oh, no, guy. Like, I'm so invested with my clients and my clients know that. And they always say that to me. They're like, I've never been with a coach that's so invested before. Like I want my clients
to tell it too, by the way, bro, which is awesome.
I'm like emotionally invested in them. Like I'm on it. Like when I'm with Jordan, I'm with James, like, dude, like, all right, James, we got to eat at noon. You got to start getting your meal done now. Like we do this. And like, I'm making sure everything is stress-free as possible for them. But like, I would say all the times Jordan competed, a lot of my guys competing, I want them to do so well. It's always devastating when they don't. But I would say the most anxiety driven for me, even though I'm pretty level headed, as in like I'm able to control my anxiety. Yeah, I've been competing in individual sports my whole life. So like I understand how to control that anxiety. But it's probably like Jordan's is like, I mean, we're rolling into Tampa and like, it's just like now he has all this hype. I'm like, great. Like all we need is like, all we need is expectations and hype. It's way easier when you're just like the underdog coming up. Nobody knows who you are.
Yeah.
It would stink and he's going to win. I got people messaging me. Hey, is Jordan doing Tampa? Like other coaches, because they want to know if their guy's going to do well or not. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. And like, bro, I think he's going to win. I'm like, great. And then people are telling Jordan he's going to win. And then Cutler's like, I foresee him winning. And then I foresee him being top 5 Olympia in the next 3 years. And I'm like, great. All this pressure, you know, and I'm over here just trying to stay focused. And Jordan's showing me all these exciting things that are happening. And I'm just trying to pay attention just to what I need to pay attention to make the right decisions. Because as you know, you get excited and you get overly anxious, you can make a very irrational decision, right? Mm-hmm. So like, I'm very careful in my decision making. So when I see Jordan and I'm looking at him, I will visually look at him, but I also record at the same time. And then I set it up and I compare the video side by side and push play. So I look at it again after I saw it and make my final decisions. I don't want to make an error through emotion, but that's it. And I would say that's kind of like probably the most anxiety driven because, dude, Jordan and I are tight, super tight, and we've become so tight over the years. And I want what's best for him. I'm like, I don't want to be responsible for like making a bad decision. And like, that's where the anxiety comes from. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I appreciate you for sharing that, by the way.
Yeah.
I think it's undervalued and under talked about how each of these, especially like a coach and a client, if you really care about them, how much they're all their own relationships, and just coaches they really take on a lot. And I don't think they get the flowers that they deserve. So
yeah, dude, it's like I love all my clients. Dude, I have a lot of guys, and I have a very high client retention, extremely high. And like a lot of guys I've had for 5-6+ years. Like all the guys I have my pictures all around me have been like Christian's been here for 8 years, 6 years, and you just want them to progress. And I'm like, I want to be there for them. And even my new guys, like they show me the effort. Like, bro, you're like, I got a new client. And this dude's going to be nasty. And I'm like, bro, we're doing nationals this year. He's like, we are. I'm like, oh, we're definitely doing that. And I go, and you're staying with me. Like you're coming down with me. I'm looking at you to make sure everything's fine. I'll pick you up at the airport. Let's go do this, you know?
Yeah.
But that's the part, because you're invested and you want to make sure it is. It's frustrating though, sometimes when somebody doesn't do what you said, because you can't yell at them. You're kind of like, oh bro, I didn't read that right. In your head, you're like, why didn't you read it right? You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing my part. You got to do your part. All you got to do is just read it twice.
Yeah.
Don't assume, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fuck.
I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Let's do this Q&A real quick. Logan Greer. Sorry, bro. I'm so sorry. What's the best way to plan a reverse diet after a show?
Because it's very individualized, it's hard to give you like, you know, exactly what to do, but I can give you some tips. One is don't start too conservative on calories. Don't be like, I'm just going to add 30 grams of carbs to my fat loss plan and then titrate up. You got to start hard and then back off from there, because you're trying to prevent yourself from binge eating, losing control. Two, have a good variety of food in your diets. You're excited to eat what you have. Don't just be the same bodybuilding chicken rice. Have an exchange list. Bring in some sourdough bread, bring in maybe real butter, you know, have a nice steak at the end of the night, make hamburgers with, you know, carbs that you can control from your buns. Like you just make a meal that has variety, because you've been eating the same shit for 12 weeks. So have a variety, have to fit your macros. Don't be too aggressive. Training wise, don't go too crazy. Light cardio, keep step count, protect your sleep. A plan for a meal off plan. Only at the end of the day, at the end of the week, after you have a meal off plan on Saturday night, and then Sunday with family. Don't binge eat. Eat till you're full. Be excited. Have a nice portion, but don't binge eat till you're in the fetal position if you're going to die. Not a good move.
Yeah.
Try to avoid sugar completely Saturday night and save it for Sunday night to allow your body just to get a little more acclimated to more food, or else you just blow up like a tick and your legs will be huge. You'll feel like complete garbage. That's pretty much, get right back on the water intake, high water intake right away. Most of my guys, the second they get off stage for night show, I have them pound 2 liters like right away. Like get the water in before the food. That way you're not like the other way around where you're like, I'm so full, I'm so thirsty, but I can't drink. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So start that hydration process right away, and get that in. But that's the reverse phase. And then make your call on adjustments at the end of the week because you're going to rebound. You don't know how much, and then adjust. You can always assume that you're going to gain anywhere from 5 to 12 pounds, depending on the body mass, the first 7 days, which is acceptable. Anything more than that's not acceptable. And then after that, it should be like maybe 2 or 3 pounds after each couple weeks thereafter. And then it should stabilize, or ideally. And I mean, if you get out for the first 7 days and you're up 5 pounds and you feel fine, great. That's awesome.
Okay.
You know?
Cool.
But it shouldn't be 20 pounds.
Yeah. I think that's nice though, that you at least said like 2 to 3 pounds every couple of weeks or so after
It should be for sure.
Yeah. Cool.
You can't fall back into the restricted diet. You're just going to create this yo-yo diet effect and just completely annihilate your relationship with food, where like you start getting anxious around food, and then you're strict, and then when you eat off plan, you go crazy, and then you feel guilty, and then you're doing more cardio, and then you feel like shit, and then you're doing it again, and then your dopamine's up, and then you're crashing. You don't want to get involved in that.
And say that you're dropping all compounds right after the show. This is probably still the same case, or maybe just slightly less in weight.
Yeah, 2 ways. Either I tell my guys, like, if the best time to come off completely is right away, because you're going to kind of like skip that mental rebound because you're going to have food to look forward to and more pumps right away. So if you want to come off test completely and run like Milvidex and Arimidex, like the post 4 weeks, and then start TRT for the last 4 weeks and then start your cycle, or just do TRT, or real TRT, not sports TRT, post show, and wean off T3 if you're taking it, wean off Arimidex if you're taking it, but you can drop everything else.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. In terms of like their weight being gained though, you normally find that to be about the same when they jump off everything? Or, I mean, like I assume some guys will lose a little bit of weight from the compounds being dropped out.
It's a good question. It's hard to say, because think about it. When you're 7 days out, you probably are already cut your injectables anyway, and you're just running orals.
That's true.
So like, you're probably not going to have too much of that.
Okay. Yeah.
I think there's some of the water rebound that you might see sometimes when people are going, I know some people do, but they take absurd amount of AIs and then they remove the AIs, right? Then you're going to blow it really bad. That's why I always recommend weaning off of them slowly instead of just going from like, I mean, I don't have my guys do this, but like 3 milligrams a day of Arimidex to like, none.
Yeah.
Probably not a good move. But no, I don't really foresee that happening. I tell people though, like, a lot of people that want to run growth post show, they're like, I should jack the growth way up. I'm like, no, because now you have all this circulating blood glucose from you eating so much food. Now you want to take high amount of growth hormone, and you're probably going to cause a little bit of insulin resistance. Not the time to do that. Not the time to do that.
Gotcha. The GMO bro asks, what's the furthest out that you've added VAR during a contest prep?
10 weeks out. 10 weeks.
10 weeks.
It's usually, honestly, I'm very conservative. I usually start like 25 milligrams at 10 weeks, and I would just like assess their performance. And I only added it to help maintain training performance during a time I had to bring somebody down faster. So it's like, if I have enough time and we're doing prep how I normally need to do prep, I don't do that. But if it's like, I got to push like 2 pounds of body fat off, 3 pounds of body fat off every 7 days, like they're going to have a little bit of higher engine load to help hold training performance, which ultimately is going to hold lean tissue.
Gotcha. It actually brings me to something I forgot that I wanted to ask you earlier, but you said low fat diet. Do you mean that you implement a low fat diet, or just as in like when you're doing a bodybuilding, like when you're prepping for a show, like the fat is just not necessarily like high. It's, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I know like low, high, those are respective terms.
I think we have to define that, right? What is a low fat diet? Yeah. Well, in the dietitian world, low fat diet's like 40 grams of fat or less. Okay.
Yeah. That's pretty low.
That is pretty low. I mean, for, a female who's 4'8", 40, that might not be that low, right?
Yeah,
but like most of us it is. So it's relative to the person. But I'm not a low fat guy with any of my guys. Like, I don't like sit there and be like chicken, rice, egg whites, no cream of rice, fruit. Like, I don't do that. I have added fats with everybody. to some degree, whether it's 5 mLs of olive oil to 15 mLs of olive oil. When I say that, I just mean 5 to 15 grams of fat, of added fat, not really counting the meat. And I might have a fatty red meat once a meal, once a day. I might not, depends on their preference. I might have whole eggs, I might not, depends on their preference. But I don't do high fat and I don't do low fat. I'm more like a moderate low fat, a moderate guy.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I think that's real important.
Right. I've seen that a little bit more often too. Patrick's also moderate, you know, like a place where it's like the fats are just, whatever fats are required just for like your foundational purposes and to keep everything running smoothly.
Yep. Totally agree.
Caffeine D asks, what are some strategies you use to keep gut health in check in a high calorie off season?
Yeah. So that's a great freaking question. So one, kombucha,
fire. I love that shit.
Or sauerkraut or both. I don't have any of my clients take probiotic supplements. I think they're a complete waste of money. When you look at what you can achieve with probiotic rich foods with a large group of people and what you can achieve with probiotic supplements with a large group of people, it's far more effective to have food that's probiotic rich than it is supplements. And the reason is one is, and this is actually research supports this, there's something like 30% of probiotics actually are beneficial, the rest are not. And then like something like 10% of people who take probiotics actually get worse. Because what ends up happening is a lot of the probiotic supplements mega dose, 1 or 2 different strains, right? Then when you mega dose 1 or 2 different strains, you create more of an imbalance within the gut. Now, if you just randomly shot in the dark and you ended up getting the strain that you need to feel better, then you feel better. But you're spending money on a product that you don't know it's fully authentic and it's mega dosing one or one of that you need or you don't need. So you need a variety. So like I don't have any of my guys do it and I usually will pull them off of it. And I usually have them implement sauerkraut to some degree, 15 grams 3 times per day. But if they're like really problematic with their gut and they have a history of poor gut, I usually have them do a full kombucha at the end of the night. And that legitimately works 90% of the time, like, and pretty damn quickly.
Okay.
I will always do that. Usually Health Aid's a good brand. It's pretty hardcore though with flavor, not going to lie. Synergy's a decent brand. They have a lot of variety and they're across the country, but Buddha's Brews in Texas, it's my favorite by far. And that works great. And now as far as variety in the diet, you got to have a variety of food in the diet. Mm-hmm. So fruits and vegetables. I tell them like, you got to pick 3 fruits, 3 vegetables that you kind of cycle through. I don't need you to have 6 different gourmet meals every day and do a vast variety. You don't need to do that, but don't be sticking to the same damn vegetable, same damn fruit every day for the whole off season. Don't do that. Rice is rice, cream of rice is rice. Obviously it's just energy. That's all the whole point of rice and cream of rice is just energy and calories. That's all the point is. But I always have them have some type of potato, oat. And then of course, 3 portions of fruit a day, and then 3 portions of vegetables a day. And they can be in limited portions, like 50 grams of vegetables cooked 3 times per day. That's fine. But I do a good amount of fruits, and I do encourage to some degree a variety of protein, even though there's not a lot of research supporting that. Like if you change up your protein, you're going to help your gut. The only thing you're going to do is exposing your gut to a variety of food. Yeah. So it gets used to assimilating and breaking down those foods. If you kind of pigeonhole yourself into like 3 foods, you're going to get those 3 foods and then your gut microflora is going to become less diverse, especially if you only probiotic foods. And then your body's going to get used to digesting those and all of a sudden eat off plan, you eat something foreign, your gut's like, oh my God, my gut hurts so bad. I can't tolerate that. And that's what ends up happening. So my guys, like luckily, like right now, I don't really have many guys that have gut problems. They're usually just digesting like cement. They can digest anything because of the format of my diets, you know?
Nice. Yeah.
Obviously you're going to have people that have, I call it gut sensitivities where like, it's not a true allergy. It's just like, I have trouble digesting almond butter, right? Okay, yeah. We'll do peanut butter. Oh, I can't do nut butter. So that's fine. We'll do olive oil. I limit avocados. There's certain things that I limit. They have in the off season, there are limits on potatoes, limits on oats, limits on avocado, in certain foods, because as you know, like you reach a certain threshold of certain foods, then it becomes a problem, right? Mm-hmm. Like 100 grams of avocado per day, not a problem. 300 grams of avocado a day. Now we're in that FODMAP. place, and now you're going to probably have some gut issues or overripe bananas. So that's pretty much my answer for all that. But you got to have a variety of food in your diet. You got to put effort into your food. You have to.
Okay. I'm trying to remember. There's something I was going to ask you in the middle.
Oh, and sleep and not a lot of stimulants, because a lot of stimulants and poor sleep will also destroy your gut.
Okay.
Managing stress, obviously.
Right. Fuck, what was I going to ask?
What was it about? What category?
So in the middle there, you mentioned something that I don't remember if it was fruits or oats. What are your thoughts on like the controversial takes on oats and how it like destroys your gut, rips up your gut, and all this shit or whatever?
I don't see it. I do see this though, which is weird. I couldn't explain to you. Why does Bob's Red Mill Oats digest better than Quaker Oats? I have no idea. No idea. I've seen it anecdotally at least 50 times with clients.
Damn. Okay.
I have no idea.
Bob's Red Mill Oats. Let's go.
I've seen some weird shit with ground turkey. Purdue ground turkey. People have a lot of problems. They go to, was it Shady Brook Farms ground turkey, and they can tolerate that. So I don't know.
Ooh, don't know. Interesting.
The only thing I can say is something to do with the processing.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some contamination in there. I don't know. Yeah. But I don't get involved with, like, I know you're talking about with the oats and like it being bad for your gut or whatever. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
It's always interesting stuff. We love American processed food.
I like to listen to it. I hear it. I take it in. If I see it, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But like, I definitely don't blindly add things in if I don't see it myself.
Gotcha.
You know?
This question asked by Coach Gaggy is kind of related. What do you think about more carbs? What do you think about more carbs, more calories, but low volume foods such as honey, jam, dried fruits, etc., to push more food, more carbs, but low volume and for better digestion in the off season?
I do it all the time. You get to a point with somebody, or they're going to eat 600 grams of rice cooked, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like at that point, I'm pulling some of that rice out, adding dates. I mean, dude, 40 grams of dates is 2 dates. That's 30 carbs.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's so easy to eat.
It fucking sucks because I love them. I'll fucking smash them, but then it's like...
Yeah, you know, like, so like they do that and they do a side of sourdough bread and they have a glass of orange juice on the side or a grape juice. That's an easy way to create more calorically dense foods that are easy to consume to keep the volume down. I do that all the time. I really do, especially my bigger guys who are just trying to gain weight and they're 300 pounds. You have to do that to some degree if they have a poor appetite, and you don't want to blow up their stomach either.
Yeah.
So I'm all for that, but I want to preface that by saying, like, just because you don't want to eat food doesn't mean we're going to eat a bunch of jam, honey, dates. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
So some people take that and they'll run with it the other way, where they're like, oh, for breakfast, I'm just going to have a piece of toast with a ton of jam and honey on it and 3 dates and not eat oatmeal and other things ever again. Because there's going to come to a point where you're going to consume too many simple sugars where you're just not going to feel very good.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I was actually going to ask when or if there's a time of the day that you implement those. I don't know. I can't talk now at the end of the podcast. I think I drink too much coffee. I was like, kind of like, if there's like a time of day where you implement those specifically, like the simple sugars, or if it's just kind of distributed.
For me, because I'm a very big stickler on glycemic control, I like to have them spread out evenly.
Gotcha. I
don't want one meal to be like, I'm not a big advocate of somebody consuming 200 grams of carbohydrates of straight powder post-workout. I don't think it's a good idea, because you're just going to spike insulin. You're going to crash and sleepy after. I want my guys to have good, even energy through the entire day. We're only training once a day. We're not Olympic athletes here. So it's not like we need to store glycogen as fast as possible to perform 2 hours later, right? That's not what we're doing here. So like, yeah, I will have easy to digest carbs post-workout and I will add fat post-workout too. But like, I try to have a better, more stable glycemic control through the day.
Okay, cool. Awesome. He also asks HRT therapy after competitions such as HMG, HCG, low dose test, Clomid.
So he's asking like if you should be doing all that. What's the question exactly?
HRT therapy after competitions. Like, I guess, do you implement any HRT therapy after competitions? Like if you're coming off things?
So HRT, hormone replacement therapy. So like, this is my viewpoint of Clomid, HCG, and testosterone. Like I'm still in the believer. I know there's people who believe against this, and that's fine. is if you're taking testosterone, now I'm adding HEG and Clomid, like I'm bringing sand to the beach, right? I'm like, either you're going to come off a test and run your Clomid and HEG and really get some more testicular function back, or you're not. And you're just going to be hormone replacement therapy and then avoid HEG and Clomid. Or you can run a little bit of HEG if you want to get some sort of signal to your testes. So if you decide to have children later, it's still going to work or, recover faster. But like, I generally don't do that. I generally don't recommend guys. I don't want my guys taking tons of shit, tons of drugs. So it's like, if we can avoid having to take 3 more compounds after the show, I'm all for it. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather it's their choice. I have guys who are like, hey man, I want to have kids. I want to come off every single time. Okay, then that's a different story, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The only other thing I would say for
go ahead.
The only thing. Go ahead, man.
I was going to say that unless some guys are already prescribed testosterone, they just go right back to the normal prescription.
Yeah, gotcha. The only thing I was going to say is if you're pretty concerned about having kids, or like you're actually concerned. I mean, if you're like in the off season or whatever, or even just any time, honestly, with cruising, just doing a little bit, a microdose of ACG alongside whatever you're injecting, honestly, has been pretty helpful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. Gaggy asks, when do you stop the bulk phase with clients, and how long is a bulk break or a short diet phase? I feel like I heard you say 9 months is around where you're aiming for before, but I'm not sure if that's changed.
Typically an off-season push might be anywhere from 14 to 18 weeks, and that's dependent. The length of time is dependent on the person's response. If they're growing, we're going all the way to 18 weeks. If they've been stuck from 11 weeks to 14 weeks, and I can't get them to budge, we're stopping. The body's done. We're gonna go back to maintenance. I never ever take somebody from a full bulk to a cut. I don't ever do that. You're just gonna piss away a lot of the muscle you just gained. You want that weight to stick. So I usually just back down the androgens and back down the food a bit. Sometimes we're not right away. I'll usually keep the food the same until they look softer, and then I might remove the food. But I have to protect the training. I'm trying to protect the training during that maintenance phase, or you call it transitional phase, however you want to call it. But I never go from a full bulk to a deficit ever.
Gotcha.
And even with guys in prep, I call it pre-prep. We never go like off season and go right into prep. It's more like off season maintenance calories for like 6 weeks into prep.
Okay. Trained by JMO asks, anything that you could change about bodybuilding today, what would it be?
More stage time and comparisons. I would like to see more stage time instead of putting so much emphasis on like the top 2 guys, 3 guys.
Yeah.
I would like to see more comparisons, especially at the higher level. It's like, okay, dude, let's put 5th place next. Let's put this projected 5th place guy next to 1st place. Let's do a round of poses. Let's see how they pair up. Because you know how many times we've been in the show before, we're like, this guy looks pretty fucking good. Why isn't he over here? Right. And it's just like, I would have loved to see them next to each other.
Right.
I would love to see more of that.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. Have you ever been to muscle contest shows?
Yes.
What have you felt of their, because at least for the pro level in California and Southern California, like the show I did with them last year in San Diego, they put us guys, when I competed in men's physique, it was like 20 guys. They had us all on stage, being exchanged on stage for a total of an hour. Like we were having to be brought out of stage just to be dabbed because we were all sweating profusely. It was crazy, man. And
that's a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot. It was pretty sick, but it was fucking tough. And then for this last classic show, this last Saturday, it was again about an hour, but it felt like we had more breaks for some reason. Maybe it was because individual routines was included in that hour, like the 45-second small pre-judging routines. Yeah. But they seem to work the guys, which is something I enjoy. I do feel like I think everyone should do a little bit more comparisons, exchanging. Like I think that would be a little bit cooler. It's something that I do appreciate from them, at least, is that they work you.
Yeah. No,
I like something else they did too that was really cool. Like I really appreciated them doing this for me, honestly. But at finals, I wasn't in the top 5, but they called me out, and then number 14, which is Sam Paquin, maybe, who has won. Like he's been in like the top 3 in all his last few shows. They called us to join the top 5 at the very end of finals, just to pose down with him, which was fucking awesome. And, you know, I was curious. I was like, whoa, I did not expect this, and neither did him. So I asked them, and they were like, yeah, you actually just brought a completely different package at finals, and you had confidence that you didn't have in prejudging. Also, your posing routine showed that confidence. Also, you were glazed. You weren't glazed at prejudging. And then they said it was fuller, but the truth was I was unprepared at finals, and I didn't get a chance to pump up, and I was pretty upset about it. So finals came around, and I went down there 30 minutes early to like start real slow, and then made sure I was pumped up by the time I got up there. So I guess it all made a difference enough for them to actually like bring me in and compare me with the top 5 again, which was honestly,
dude, that's
meant so much to me.
Yeah. I love that. I like that.
Yeah. So I would love to see a lot more of that. I agree. Coach Thomas asks, where did you get your knowledge about PEDs? So many different places.
So many sources and places. I mean, we can start going back to just reading online.
Didn't you like buy Chris Aceto's books too? Like way back?
Yeah, I brought all Chris Aceto's books. I brought all William Whelan's books. I read all those anabolic guides. I read all of those. Obviously, I got my knowledge from Fockery. He was my first coach. I got a lot of knowledge from Aceto. Mm-hmm. But like, I'm a very good learner with just experiencing things. I don't need to ask questions. Mm-hmm. So I remember Aceto saying to me, he goes like, bro, you're like so easy to work with. I could work with 10 of you. And I'm like, oh, I'm just observing. But what he's doing, I'm learning, and I understand why he's doing it. Like, I'm very observant. So like, learn from him. But like, I would say just knowledge basis over the years, it's come from so many sources, man. It really has. A lot of personal experience, which you can always hold too much. You can't hold too much merit to it because anecdotal evidence and obviously in science doesn't mean anything. But a lot of the books, William Whelan's books, a lot of just steroid.com was, I think, my first time I ever looked at what drug profiles were and what they did. And obviously, as you know, in hindsight, when you look at real life application and you look at the profile, you're like, that's not the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People, this will put sheer mass on you and do this and that. I'm like, you're good, you know? But I think that's where it was, and just helping people over the years and learning and seeing. That's kind of how it's been shaped. I wouldn't say there's been any groundbreaking source where one of them was like, this guy taught me the most. It was just more like, understand. Evan is another good resource, because I would always ask Evan questions, because he was really good friends of mine. He's a really good friend of mine. And I would always ask him questions about, hey man, does this sound right? And he'd look at me like, that doesn't sound right, dude. Don't do that. And then you tell me like, this is what you probably should be doing. I learned a lot from him as well.
Gotcha. That's dope. Connor Lug asks, the best way to structure high day carbs and carb source choices. Well, you already went over carb source choices. Jeez, dude, what's going on? But I saw another question that was basically similar, like asking about how you structure carb cycling.
Yeah. So, dude, this is such a tough question because there's carb cycling for so many things. So usually in preparation for a show, I will first implement high days as needed. Might start taking their baseline calories down, getting an effect. Great. We had a good effect over 5 days. I'm going to bring calories up for 2 days and then see the effect. And then based on that response, we'll determine the amount and when possibly we feed next. And then I kind of end up doing it that way. Very individualized based on the response. It's not set in stone. However, there's multiple situations where I might have somebody feed on back day and leg day, where it's like Monday and Thursday, where those are their higher calorie days and the rest are lower days. I might have a situation where Monday through Friday is lower and Saturday and Sunday are higher. I do like 2 days back to back. I find 2 days back to back of higher calories in prep works really well, because I don't like taking somebody and being like, here's a super high day, 1,000 calories, 2,000 calories above where you're supposed to. I'd rather be like, oh, let's be 700 calories more on these 2 days together. You know what I'm saying? That way it really allows fatigue to come down and you really get a positive response mentally. And physiologically, your body starts to glycogen, fatigue comes down. I like that the most. Jordan, most of the time, was feeding 2 days in a row for his refeeds. Sometimes if he goes, my fatigue's fine, everything's great, I'm training like a maniac, and his weight's going down a little too fast, I'll just give him one. But if he's like, bro, my fatigue's been really bad the last 2 days and training suffering, I'll be like, we're feeding 3 days in a row. And to bring all that back to life. That's generally how I do it. But I always tell people this too. It will come to a point where I like to have the high days be on a non-training day, because training, we know, interferes with muscle glycogen. And if a high day's purpose is to store glycogen and bring down fatigue, I want them to do that on an off day, not on a day where like, let's do an extra hour of cardio and we'll do this. And now you're just negating everything you're trying to do with a refeed. But that's how I implement it. It's very individualistic. I mean, I cycle carbs in the off season too for my guys. They have low days and high days to help with appetite and sensitivity. And it varies to, some guys go 4 low, 1 high. Some people have the high days on specific days. It's really what fits that person. And as far as carbs go, I usually will lower protein a little bit on those days, a little bit. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I do. Usually I might, if the day's really high, I might bring vegetables out completely that day. That way it helps digestion. Just like you're eating like 1,000 carbs and you're eating much vegetables. So I'll just remove the vegetables out that day.
Yeah. I feel like you're like to be honest, the only person I've heard that'll do 2 high carb days in a row. That's not for the sake of like a mock. I think are useful. It's so useful. It seems awesome.
I don't like that super high day because I've ran into the problem before. You get a super high day and half the people will say, oh, Chris, man, I'm so sleepy today. Like all these carbs, like I'm excited to eat, but like I'm kind of groggy and I'm kind of like not focused.
Yep.
And I just didn't feel good. Or they'll be like, oh, my stomach hurts. Like I went from eating fucking half cup of rice to like 2.5 cups of rice and my stomach hurts.
Yeah.
I don't like this sudden extreme shift. So like I like to have 2 moderate days instead of 1 super high day. I just feel like that works better for the most number of people. I don't run into that problem of like digestion or feeling foggy.
Gotcha. It's so fun to talk to you, man. Cause like, I gotta be real. Like I love both sides of the equation. Like it's just exciting to talk about hardcore bodybuilding and you know, like you talk to someone like, you know, Patrick, and he's like, yeah, these, like you have to manage things to make sure that your body's in the most optimal state, but bodybuilding is hard. Like you have to suffer. Like these high carb days are going to be full. Like you're going to have to eat a lot or like whatever, blah, blah, blah. He'll like be straight up like, you know, you'll see on his story, he'll always talk about like guys that just like, they want to like get shortcuts when they need to understand that bodybuilding is difficult and it requires discipline, it requires whatever, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes he's so hardcore with like, man, I'm like eating 70 grams of carbs in a rest day and suddenly I'm at like 500 grams of carbs plus. And I feel that like GI distress, you know, on that high carb day. Or I don't know, I'm trying to think of other examples because that's not really the best example, but basically it's cool to hear from you. Like you have a lot of consciousness and mindfulness over how someone's reacting both physically and mentally to like each of these changes. And I think that's kind of undervalued a lot in not just bodybuilding, but prep especially.
There's 2 things I always say to people. If I tell you to do something and it is the right move, but you mentally feel that it's not and it's stressing you out, then it becomes the wrong move, right? So that's one thing about aspects of mental, the communication between the client and the coach. Like I tell my guys all the time, hey, if I tell you to do something and it's uncomfortable, you got to tell me, because then it becomes the wrong thing because you're not confident what you're doing. If you're not confident what you're doing, you start stressing. You start stressing, you're going to change how your body's going to start to operate and retain water or sleep or whatever. Now, in regards to like what you're saying about like things being hard, I agree. Like bodybuilding's hard, but there's a difference between hard and having a negative physiological response. I don't want people having fucked up digestion. I don't want somebody getting to this point in prep, and this sucks. When someone gets to prep and they're like, one day they get bad sleep, they fight with their wife, they binge, and all of a sudden the next 7 days, their digestion is falling apart. They're like, oh, bro, my stomach hurts. I'm constipated now. Now I'm having like loose stools. I'm like, fuck, like this is not what we want.
Right.
So like, I don't want that. If somebody wants a high day and they're digesting fine, they feel good and calories climb high, awesome. I'm going to keep it. But if I get a negative physiological response, I'm super groggy. I don't feel good. Stresses me out. My digestion's off. Now I'm constipated for 48 hours. I will have nothing to do with that. I want digestion to be flawless. I want sleep to be flawless. I want them to be in a good, happy mood. And all the people who are like that go through prep with 20 minutes of cardio, no T3 or low T3, and they get shredded and they look big and they're on low gear and they're eating high food. Like, I know that direct correlation with that. Everybody who's getting good sleep is burning fat so much faster. So much faster.
Yeah. Martin Kuipers asks, do you plan on hopping on stage one last time?
Me one stage? No, I tore my hamstring, dude, this year. I used to be a professional motocross racer. Okay.
Oof.
And I had the greatest idea once I turned 40 to be like, you know what? I'm old. I haven't ridden dirt bike since 2004, 2003. I want to get back on a bike. Now I got money. I'm going to go buy the sickest bike. Got back into riding. Talk about like, man, it's been a long time. Started to get the hang of it. I took a real bad fall, tumbled, fell. The bike collapsed me, hit my leg, brought my knee all the way to my head. And ruptured my hamstring. I knew that as I'm tumbling through the air, hitting my head, but I feel my hamstring. I'm like, tore my hamstring. And I stopped rolling.
No.
I tore my hamstring. And the guy comes over, picks the bike up off of me. And I'm like, I tore my hamstring. He's like, how do you know? I'm like, oh, I fucking know. Oh, I know. I 100% know. That was the worst injury I've ever sustained in my life, bro. I've broken 9 bones in my life. I had concussions, stitches, everything. I've never had an injury like that, dude. That was just treacherous. So now my hamstring just flaps because it ruptured in half.
Oh my God.
The muscle belly itself. And you can't put together spaghetti. You know what I mean? So 2 of the heads are together and the bicep femoris is ripped.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, so that's what you can get when you're 42 years old, trying to ride a dirt bike like a kid.
I guess isn't that at least better than rupturing at the tendon?
No, because then they can attach the tendon.
Oh.
Yeah. When it's a tendon, bro, it's easy. Then they just reattach it and then your muscle belly is intact. And then it's going to gain function again. It would be a shitty recovery. But I mean, let me be honest, bro. Like, I've lost my ability to run. I can't run at all. Like, when I run, I have to keep my feet really underneath me. I can't extend my leg out to accelerate at all.
Damn. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Fuck, I'm sorry about that, bro.
But also, I'm 42. I'm not going to step on stage. I don't want to go through the whole drug route again. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I tell people, and one thing I love about my dad, and my dad's a very, very respectable, very intelligent man. And he's realistic, a doctor. You know, he's like, I don't know what you guys do to yourself. I don't know what the ramifications are going to be either. But I can tell you this, every drug has a side effect. And you do something long enough, the probability of something going wrong is going to go up. Yeah. So obviously you have a dose, you have duration, you have genetics. And these 3 things together are greatly to determine the outcome later in life. You might feel fine now, Chris. That's why people smoke cigarettes for 5 years. They feel fine. And all of a sudden they have cancer year 6. Or some people don't have cancer. You never know, but it's the gamble that you're going to play. So like I say to myself, I've done what I've done and I'm ready to moving on from it. I don't want to keep playing that game of, I'd love to. I love lifting. I love the lifestyle, but I'll live all the lifestyle but the drugs.
Makes sense. Gotcha. Yeah. You still look fucking filthy in a t-shirt, so I feel like that's all that matters.
I'm only like 207 pounds. It's weird. I haven't had almost like years.
Only. Martin Kuipers asks, do you still sell the posing course, and how's the electrolyte company doing?
Yeah, I still have the posing course. Basically, it is probably most intricate, detailed posing course you'll ever purchase, because it goes and breaks down every single pose from the feet up of bodybuilding and classic. Is this for somebody who's super experienced, who needs fine critiquing at a pro level? No. This is for somebody who's getting into bodybuilding and classic and they want to learn posing without spending $1,000 on a posing coach. You can look at it. I describe everything, how to put your feet with certain torso lengths, what you need to do if you have a long torso or short torso, your hand positioning. I break down everything. It's pretty long. It's very extensive. But yes, it is still available on my website. And electrolyte company is doing good. More hydration.
Gotcha. Nice.
More hydration. It's doing good. And, dude, let me tell you something, guys. You're starting a product. It's not easy. There's all these loopholes and all these problems of like, having to get labels. Labels didn't come in. And the label company's like, well, I got the labels, but the caps don't fit. And you're like, the caps don't fit? What do you mean? And they always have the wrong caps. And it's always a headache. And
now imagine everything with the tariffs too on top of that. Bro. I know so many people with companies that are just having the worst nightmares. Things are coming in like 5 weeks late when the tariffs are high.
Dude,
sometimes they come in like 2 days. If it's
another thing is nobody wants to do their job. Like you're like, all right, I'll call you back. Let me know. Waiting next to, hey, oh yeah, oh yeah. So what's going to happen? Like, fuck, dude.
I know, bro.
Yeah.
Like when I stopped working for a corporate world or like an engineering firm or whatever, I realized like I work twice as fast doing shit for myself in my own business than I do ever working for a company.
Yeah.
I'm like waiting half the time.
Yeah. It's crazy. When you have your own business, you're invested.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. There's quite a few questions. I'm trying to pick through like we've been through a lot of this already. So that's kind of why I'm like stuttering through some of them. Joris Devil asks, when did you start working with James and how did you guys start working together, basically?
I've been friends with James for a while, and 13 weeks out, he asked me if I could help him. And he sent me pictures. He's like, hey, do you think it's possible to still pull together decent packaging in 13 weeks? And I said, well, James, like, I normally like to have 20 weeks with people so I can at least learn a little bit of their body. He goes, but I'll be happy to help you. But I really would. Because like, I know his arm look he was not happy with his arm look at all. He was really upset with it. So I was like, dude, I'm a condition guy. I like condition. So like, I can do that. And his concern is like, oh, I need to condition and full. And he was like, I just don't want to be flat. I'm like, won't let you get flat. And he wasn't flat. We just weren't supposed we could be, but that's how that conversation started. And we started the next day. I said to him, send me all your information, all your pictures, your everything I need to see. And let's start tomorrow. And because he's a good friend of mine. So like I dropped everything that day and I made his plan, sent it over to him, and he started right away. And he checked in every single day for the entire 13 weeks to make sure everything was going in the direction it needed to. And how I deal with the time change is I have him send me weight also at PM at night. So I predict his AM weight on his PM weight, and I'll send him an update to start the next day because he's 8 hours ahead. All right.
Gotcha.
That way there's no missing a beat the next day.
That's awesome. The Real Blue asks, do you have your athletes train abs? And if so, what would the scheme be?
I do. They need to train abs. They need to. I don't have them do rope crunches generally, but like I like core strengthening exercises that indirectly obviously condition your abs, which would be side planks, McGill curl ups, ab rollouts. And I will implement hanging leg raises to some degree, but that's it. I want them to do it frequently. I want them to be doing it more of a conditioning standpoint versus building your ab standpoint. If somebody has weak abs, I'm going to obviously prescribe something slightly different, but the vast majority of people need to keep their core strong to protect their lower back. And obviously being able to keep their waist tight and small. You all see these big bodybuilders, just guts sticking out, right?
Yeah.
Like they're just relying on a belt. They don't like able to hold it in. And then you see powerlifters, and their waist is small and they're squatting 800 pounds. That's like, because they can crunch their stomach together and their core is so strong. So like, I need to have them have a strong core. And so those are the movements I usually implement for them. Just two sets each, not crazy, not to failure or anything wild, but to, you get a good burn, good connection, maintain spinal integrity, keep your spine straight during those movements, like planks and the ab rollouts. And I have them do maybe 3 times per week.
Gotcha. Cool. You said, I know it's just a plank, but side planks, you don't feel like that may grow the obliques on the side a little bit too much?
No, because we're not doing it for like duration failure. We're just doing it for completely just to be able to connect to them. So it's like 2 sets, 30 seconds. You're not going to build anything about your obliques with that at all. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I notice guys that do that end up having a smaller midsection.
Gotcha.
Because they're able to control it and pull it in.
This one, you don't have to answer this if you don't feel, but because I know we're already talking about expectations and Jordan, but the question literally is by Logan Thompson, expectations for Jordan at the Olympia.
I would be happy with top 8. I would be happy with top 8. I think it could be possible, but I think the Olympia lineup this year is insane.
It's disgusting, man.
It's insane.
Wild.
So it's like like this. If you got top 8, I'd be thrilled. Mm-hmm. If you got top 10, I'm okay with that. If you got top 6 for some chance, I'd go out drinking that night.
Fire.
Yeah.
When's the last time you drank?
I actually went like legitimately 24 years of my life not drinking at all.
Fuck, no way.
Yeah.
And then I
actually started drinking like 2 years ago. So now I'm like really into like high-end whiskeys. And like,
let's go.
And I love old fashions. So like whenever we go to a restaurant, I get like the fanciest old fashioned I can get and try different whiskeys. And I don't like to drink, but like 1 or 2 drinks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My I didn't drink for like maybe 6 or 7 years or so. And now that I'm with my girl and she lives in Kentucky and her family's all in Kentucky and everyone fucking drinks like crazy there, it's like, it's almost like if I don't start, it's going to be fucking really awkward.
Right.
So,
what's wrong with your boy?
Whatever. Aurelian Aesthetics asks, does it matter what type of ester we use in contest prep?
No. I'm sure they're responding to Mastron, propionate, or nethate, or test a nethate, a cypionate, or propionate. Because of the ejection volume, I don't want people having to do like 9 cc's. Like everything's like 50 or 100 milligrams per milliliter. I don't want anyone to do it. So I always will recommend Mass D over Mass Probe. I'll always recommend Test E or Test SIP over Test Probe, always. I do recommend Tren Ace over Tren E because you can adjust the dose rapidly due to a side effect.
Yeah. So in that case, if you're using the enanthate esters, though, when do you drop them before show?
7 to 10 days out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. Chris Jack Taylor asked, what is something you think people put too much emphasis on versus what people aren't putting?
Gear. They put too much emphasis on gear. They put too much emphasis on just getting stronger, moving weight in the gym. I just like, I see some people train and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like they're just pushing weight. You're not feeling the muscle. You're shortchanging range of motion just to push load. Yeah, it looks cool. But why was Jay Cutler using 130s and 140s? And I see a bunch of people at the gym using the same and they're like 185 pounds. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
there's a big difference here. And they're like, how do you build the chest? Well, you're building a chest because you don't know how to train. So people underemphasize how you move the weight. They're overemphasizing constantly just pushing weight and doing more. What training split should I do? How about we learn how to train first of doing the movements you already are doing? Mm-hmm. And then we can worry about other things. That's what I find the most problem with people that come to me. I look at how they're training and sometimes I'm surprised that they're able to build the physique they were on how they were training.
Right.
Yeah.
Stefan Kienzel says the same.
Yeah.
Cool thing is I discovered for myself too, like, you know, you constantly keep learning and right. And I thought that I had a pretty good handle on how I should be training for everything by now. But I literally just realized that I've been training my mid back thickness wrong for like the last fucking 15 years. Cause like I was like training with Dr. Tuttle and he's got this crazy, like he's lacking in lat. So I taught him lat stuff, but I'm lacking in thickness, at least I thought. And his back thickness is just fucking weird. It's like insane. It's like monstrous. So we did rows and he wanted to follow my workout. So I took him through it and he did my back rows better than I did. I looked back on the video and I'm like, this guy is doing the full Arnold and Ronnie Coleman stretch and then coming back and then the full extension and like chest up, everything, scapular retraction, full range of motion with, you know, the scapula extension retraction. And then when I looked at me, I was basically just doing biceps and rear delts. Like I was just moving my arms, but I didn't really like, this was like isometric. And that's where I realized like, fuck man, I have been, and whenever my show feedback is like, aside from bringing everything up, because, you know, I'm still the smallest competitor on stage, the one thing that I need to focus on, they say, is the mid back density, which in my opinion is really just that upper back density because I have this lower lat thickness that other people don't. But I'm missing literally that area that is contracting when I'm supposed to be scapular retracting and then extending and stuff. So, I mean, it just another thing that proved to me from my own experience that I've been undervaluing the movement. And
movement patterns are everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're very individualized. Everybody's put together a little differently. You know what I mean? And that's what you have to master, you know? Yeah. I love what you said, like you thought you had an idea and then you learned something new and then you're like, oh shit. Right. And that's a part of learning. And what people don't understand is like the Dunning-Kruger effect. The little you know, the more you think you know everything. And then the more you know, the more you're like, I don't know anything because you just keep learning and learning and learning.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I do got to ask though, your opinion on this, because I find that it's so much easier for me to do the scapular retraction and extension, like full range of motion on anything that requires lumbar support. Like, you know, like a bent over barbell row or bent over dumbbell row or like a cable row. But if I go on something like a T-bar row, like a chest supported machine row or something, I find the pad is like too thick where it's like I can't really stretch as much.
It hurts. This one probably can't breathe.
No, like it's just like it's like the pad is too thick where it's like it's almost inhibiting the stretch.
It's restricting.
It's not just it's not just supporting me in the middle, it's supporting me in the entire chest. So it's like it's not, I feel like I'm not bending as much. I feel like I'm not really
what you could try to do is put the foot platform higher so your chest is a little bit higher over the platform.
Okay, yeah.
Your arms are up here and the platform stops so you can get your arms over it. That's something I'll probably try. But at the end of the day, like even a slightly wider grip would allow you to be able to achieve a longer extension of the arms without coming together too much. That's also an option. But I mean, at the end of the day, if your scapula is completely protracted, you don't need to go much further than that. Thoracic flexion is just obviously stretching you more your erectors, and you're getting a little further stretch in the lat because you're coming forward. But it's not quite as essential as it is to maximally wrap the scapula around the spine one way and then wrap it back around the other way.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Awesome. All right. Last question. Last Q&A. Luke asks, what is the most important tip you have for young aspiring bodybuilders?
Oh, man, with the one tip, I have some young guys and I'm always trying to tell them, you could be really good if you stay away from toxic women. You don't get hurt.
Wow. Fucking facts.
Yeah, it's facts. Young. Okay. You got to take care of your body. So like you get a Honda Civic off the show floor and you ride the piss out of it. It's probably going to die for 4 years, right? You can take care of that car and drive it hard, but take care of it and it will last a long time. A lot of young guys going full piss and vinegar, just pushing way too hard in the gym earlier on, and they pay the consequences 3 years later, and they're done. They're done bodybuilding completely. Yep. Torn pec, torn hamstring, and they're done. Learn how to train properly. Don't be influenced by your boys telling you to be a pussy and pick up heavy weight. That's the dumbest thing you could possibly do. Stay in your own lane, progress from your previous best, learn how to train properly, learn mood patterns, and then go that direction. If you do that, you'll be way far ahead, because I look at myself, I was stupid too. Going to the gym, deadlifting twice per week, trying to like pick up as heavy weight as I possibly could. And I was strong. I could deadlift 475 for 20 reps. Like I was strong, but like destroyed my lower back. I have chronic lower back pain. Like there's so many things that came of it. So it's like, I would be focusing on that.
Yeah. I used to, when I was in college, I was like overhead pressing dumbbells with like hundreds. And I would do anything to take that back, because I got shoulder impingements on both shoulders that caused me to not be able to bench press or overhead press anymore. And I haven't ever since. So, which fucking sucks, man.
Right. And you think about it, and back in the day, like, and it's all for what? For what?
Right. Just to look fucking awesome in the gym.
Hundreds. Great. Now I can't even put my arms above my head. You know what I mean?
It felt great back then.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel great now, though.
When we're young, like think about it. When you don't feel it, you don't believe it. Like I remember my dad telling me, and beside all the motocross, broken bones, seeing my body fall through the air, fucking pass out cold. And I remember my dad, and I did strongman for a little bit, and my dad came to my strongman show, and he looks at me and he goes, and he's like, dude, you're going to be paying the price later for all this shit. And I'm like, Dad, what are you talking about? I feel fucking great. He goes, you just lifted an axle wheel, a 450-pound axle wheel for 20 reps. He goes, there's going to be consequences to that later in life. I'm like, Dad, whatever. And now I'm older and my body's like feeling it. And my dad says to me like last year, he goes, Chris, you know what's funny? I've had 2 shoulder surgeries, knee surgery, 2 hip surgeries, back surgery. I never raced motocross. I never bodybuild. I never did strongman, nor did I have any aches and pains when I was 40. And you've been having aches and pains since you were 30. He goes, be prepared, my friend. I'm like, great. Damn it.
For real.
Thanks, Dad. I'm waiting for technological advancements. Maybe they can grow new limbs and tissues, maybe in 5, 6 years.
That reminds me of everyone that's been paying like so much money to get their body frozen, in the sake that someone finds the cure to bring you back to life, your frozen body back to life.
Oh,
it's wild.
God. Yeah, it is.
All right. One last question at the end of every podcast. I ask everyone, everyone. If you were to disappear from the world tomorrow and you had one message you could send to the entire world today, what would the message be?
Easy. Really pay attention to the relationships and your family that you have, because life is not for granted. I've lost a lot of people in my life. And unfortunately, that whole message of you don't realize how much you love something until it's gone. You don't understand how great a time is until it's a memory. So being more present with what you're doing and enjoying everything you do have, and don't be ungrateful for your health and what you're able to do, because it's going to be taken from all of us eventually. Our health, our physical ability, our family. So like I see a lot of people just chasing things that don't matter and they're still miserable. But like at the end of the day, if you're walking, being able to compete, do your hobby, eat food, have a roof over your head, you shouldn't be upset about half the things that you are.
I love that, man. Thanks. Thank you for that. Thanks for coming on this podcast. This was awesome. You're extremely easy to talk to. And that's clear because I was definitely shooting for an hour less than the time that we got, but it was hard to keep going.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
Is there anything that you'd like to share with the audience, promote, or anything, talk about before you leave?
No, that's really it, guys. I mean, listen, I have a pretty long wait list right now, and I apologize to people who are going to email me and inquire. But if you are interested in the wait list, like you email me sooner so you can be on it, because it's a never ending wait list that just keeps going this way. And I have a couple assistant coaches that are under me. Nate's awesome. Nihar's awesome. And Tori helps a lot of my females. So I do have help, and I do have trained all of them. So they're not going to be doing willy-nilly weird things. And I oversee it. But, if you do contact me, you'll be talking to me, and then I will direct you. It's not anywhere where like you think it's me and it's somebody else. I don't do that weird stuff. And that's it. If you guys want to check out more hydration, you can. We've got 4 flavors. You can go to drinkmore.com, morehydration.com, and then check it out. But that's really about it, my friend.
Sick. Thanks for coming on, bro. That was awesome.
Thanks, man.
I'll catch you soon. Later, brother.